And to me, it's nauseating. It's absolutely nauseating because
multiple mental health clinicians said that Derek had limited intellectual ability and was not capable of consenting.
Congratulations.
Boom. Right? Change soccer in America forever.
Hella bugs out here. Yeah, bro, I can't keep caressing my leg, boy. Trying to get freaky out here.
Your step siblings and also husband and wife.
I can't do any of that stuff.
That's right. Yeah, in fact, soccer can crawl up my asshole and die for all I care. And that's what the kids do, but I'm a little older. I like that shirt tucked in.
Who the hell told you that would not be seen on television?
Anal sex is the process of inserting a penis into the anus of another partner.
Oh, shit. All right, welcome back to the Straight Red Card after we got basically anally inserted into by the EFL. Or was it the Premier League? I can't remember who blocked our show for a whole day.
It was the EPL, but it was the FA on behalf of somebody or something. It was that stupid 10-second Erling Haaland telling Arteta to stay humble, stay humble. That little video.
I can't believe
after the freaking show.
We would have won that had we challenged it, but we're like, just get the show back up. Because challenge it would have taken another 24 hours, 48 hours, and then the show would have been down for 2 days. So, I mean, at that point, what's the point? So, but usually we have challenged when Fox fucked with us. We fucked Fox twice, 3 times, 4 times already. We'll continue to fuck them in the ass, but this time they lubed us up and they got us.
We challenged one from a couple weeks back actually the other night. Because at that point, nobody else is going to be viewing that live stream, so fuck them, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, screw with us. We're going to win. We've won every single time so far. So keep screwing with us. And if it's timely, we'll go after you and you will lose. And that will be a mark against you. Because every time you claim something to be yours and it's not yours, and that it's been used in a fair way, then they start to take notice a little bit like, these guys are claiming a bunch of stuff and they're losing all the time. So Fox never challenges us anymore, which is good. They're just like, just leave those guys alone. Let's not mess with those guys anymore. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who showed up today on Thursday night. Brett, go ahead.
I was going to say it was really strange because the other ones were just all copyright claims where we got demonetized for that video. This last one was legitimately blocked for 10 seconds of video clip. Is bullshit.
Oh, it's so bullshit.
Yeah. So, hey, Derek, what's so special about this show?
Yeah, what's so special about this show is we're going to let you guys join the show. If you've got something to say,
for a small segment. I mean, each. So, like, we're going to bring on somebody here in just a minute, give them a chance to ask questions, say, hey, what's up, and everything, answer their question back and forth, and then poof, we'll be done. We'll move on to the next person if there's anybody there, but we won't be sitting on here for like 30 minutes talking.
No,
with everybody. So
no lingering. Also, by the way, remember we were talking about Ocean Gate and the rings? You know how they used epoxy, whatever, to seal the rings? Well, it's coming out, and we were watching them do it and lowering them in, and they were using glue to put the window on, the bubble on. Yeah, that's where it failed. Exactly that.
That's like duct tape on there, right?
They might as well use duct tape. Oh my God. How ridiculous is that? Anyhow, we got plenty of stuff to cover with Tab Ramos, etc. So we probably got some fluff here too to do.
Fumor says, what green room? Basically, if you click the link at the very top that's pinned to the chat, that'll take you to StreamYard, at which point you'll create your name and jump into a green room, which basically means that you just sit in the back and wait for me to bring your ass in.
And we'll probably turn off your video. We're going to assume most people don't want to be seen, so the video will be off.
Yeah, I feel like most people will probably just use it with their phone, and they won't really have video. I mean, they can probably click video, but most of them won't have it initially.
Also, if you're nude, we won't,
I can remove you just as quickly as we add you.
That's true.
We're getting a couple people into the chat or into the green room. So I'm going to bring in Tony, who I'm guessing is Tony Martinez from above. He said hello.
Yep. What's up?
So
what's up, Tony?
What's up?
Ain't nothing much, man.
All right.
Sitting back waiting for the show.
Hey, first time for everything. Any questions or comments you wanted to make?
No, it's enjoying the show and learn a lot with your history.
Oh, appreciated.
Yeah, and also too, I'm still waiting for the cooking show.
Yeah,
it's absolutely coming out at some point. Sure,
we've been
saying it for like 3 years now. So who knows at this point?
Mm-hmm.
One day,
you know who I recently found out is a big history buff is the comedian Shane Gillis.
That makes sense.
He does the Trump impersonation and everything. But yeah, I found out he's actually a massive history buff, despite the fact that he doesn't look like the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, to be a good comedian, you really have to have some sort of history background, I think, because there's plenty of stuff in history to joke about, to lay into. So, hey, Tony, thanks for coming, and appreciate it. Have a great night. Sounds like you're making dinner back there.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Later, guys. Later, Tony. All right. Right. So there's one, and he wasn't nude, as far as we can tell, and he didn't say anything absolutely ridiculous. All right. What do we got next, Jack?
Yep, gonna bring in Jack next.
All right.
What's up, Jack?
What's up?
What's up, my friend? What you got on your mind?
Nothing. What do you got? Nothing much about soccer. I've just been enjoying life,
Yeah,
enjoying the fact that Pochettino's our manager now.
Yeah, no, that's positive. Any way in particular you're enjoying your life?
Not really. Just the fact that I've been enjoying soccer, whether it's club or it's international, because I've got the US and Barca are playing as good as they've been in years. So I'm basically living in heaven right now.
This is great. Have you asked your stepsister out to a date yet?
We just went on a date.
Nice. All right. Nice. How'd it go?
It wouldn't be a stepsister. It would be a stepbrother.
Oh, okay. Good for you. Either way, it's still
still okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Still all in the family, in its own way, but not.
Yeah.
It's totally legal. Don't feel bad about it. Go for it.
No, I don't. And if my family brings it up, I'm like, you know what? You guys have your own thing.
We're losing Jack.
You're cutting in and out there, man. Are you on the road?
Okay, we may have lost Jack. That happens sometimes with the Jack, communications being jacked up on occasion. He might be on the road. Anyhow, we'll move on. We've got others in line here. Brett taking control here, and this is weird. We just thought we'd just try it and see what the hell weirdness happens here. Laverdad, longtime listener. Laverdad, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Good to speak to you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound crisp as like you were sitting next to me.
Good. I'm on a walk with my wife, and we're about to walk in and get free ice cream, so I pulled her on a Yui so I could get a call in.
Nice.
But yeah, so my question is when we watch the games that we have our USMNT players in, there's always the, like, as you say, the Geo role, the one who pulls the strings, the one who progresses the ball. Seeing where Gio's at and the problems he has, like you look at Milan, you need someone like TG Reinders, like them. You don't get Pulisic doing the buildup. I see that as our biggest problem going into this year, is if we don't have anyone like Reina, I don't see anyone else really stepping in there and being able to pull the strings and progress the ball and
I mean, it's
cut the lines, and I don't see where that's going to come through against big teams.
It's a fair concern. Obviously, Tillman hasn't really brought.
Do you see any?
Are we losing people again?
I don't know. Do we see anybody taking note?
Sorry, I think I'm on a. I think I'm on a few second back, whatever. But yes, sorry. Go ahead. What do you think about?
Well, yeah, I was saying that Tillman hasn't brought the PSV Tillman yet, and he would be the natural replacement, of course, if that were the case. But yeah, I mean, it is a concern, and hopefully we see Reyna back soon. But yeah, I mean, it's something we're going to have to worry. Certainly, what Poach is going to have to think about as he builds the team, and for the vision he's got.
Yeah. Do you see like what Milan did? I'm just looking at what's best for like our best players.
Go ahead, Brett.
Is if you see that they change kind of like to a 4-5-1 or like a 4-4-1-1. Do you think we could possibly do something more like that and focus more on our transition offense, trying to take away our and kind of work that way, because we really never did that under Berhalter.
I think
we're actually going to cover this a little bit later on the show too. But yeah, there is absolutely a formation. We could branch back to the empty bucket and pinch players like Pulisic and whoever else is going to be on the wing at that point back in, play with the 2 striker, and you are allowing your backs to have free reign on the counterattack there at that point. So I think there is a way where we can implement a team where we don't necessarily utilize a center attacking mid like a Gio in that sense. And I think Gio, Tillman, and then Luna to a lesser extent at this point would be the options to fill that role. But there's formations we can play.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the question is, will Poach do that? Poach is a massive lover of the 4-2-3-1. Although if you go back into his history, and you go back to his time in Spain, he did try a few other funky things that included like a 4-4-2 and a 4-4-1-1. I mean, he did try some other formations, so it's not absolutely wouldn't be totally out of his character to do it. It's just been more recently he's pretty much stuck to, for the most part, a 4-2-3-1. So we'll see what happens there. And thanks for joining us. It sounds like you cut out there.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I leave you with a question and you guys answer it? And,
yeah, absolutely.
See what you think. Yeah. So if you have 2 people, who is someone on the team now that's on the outskirts of the team that you think has a chance to be starting in the World Cup, and who's someone that no one's speaking of that you think could be an impact player come the World Cup? And thanks, guys, and keep up the good work.
Have a great night. Say, give our best wishes to your your wife. Sorry.
She just walked away from me. All right, see you guys.
All right, cheers.
See you, man.
2 questions there. An outsider where no one's thinking of that could make the team, because I don't think there's. All right, we're going to go through a list of some of the youngsters out there right now that could, like a Dominic Downs or somebody shockingly, make the team. Right now, that's a little hard to say. I think I need another year to really let that fizzle to see who works out, because making that kind of prediction would be like me saying, what's his name? Zalal was going to be a definite future player, right? I don't want to say that about a young player when I have some hopes, but I don't see anything solid quite yet. Brett.
Yeah. On player that's on the outside looking in right now, I think that's an easy one we could look at, because somebody who hasn't really gotten a big shot under Berhalter that likely will at this point. I think we're likely to see. Who mentioned it? Judgmental Deity actually mentioned it. Maloney.
Yes,
being incorporated to the team
for sure.
From the outside looking in. As far as a player that nobody's really talking about, the big problem. I mean, I feel like we're all talking about the players, and we're talking about a 2-year gap until the World Cup at this point.
Right.
So these are players that are likely starting to make a name for themselves that you may not necessarily consider first-team players now, but they could work their way up into it.
Sure.
So I don't think there's going to be any player that most people haven't heard of that's going to be all of a sudden make the team. I guess the big question at that point would be is where are we weakest at, and that we haven't started trying already. So we're weakest at goalkeeper, but we've already brought in players like Schulte. I mean, Gaga could make a name for himself at that point, because, again, it is just up in the air. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen at goalkeeper? Center back's really thin.
Well, we had the goalkeeper for Tottenham today in what's it, Europa League, right? He is a dual nat. Brandon Austin, I believe is his name. I mean, if we're really desperate at goalkeeper, we're even looking at guys like that right now, right? Because he started in Europa League for Tottenham today. And you kind of have to think, well, I'm willing to look at anybody at this point. So if that guy can get some solid time, I think Dietz is a good call, although I saw somebody say he's underrated or he's overrated today on X. Busio, listen, I'm not putting Busio outside. If Busio continues to play really well and doggedly with Venezia, I think I'm going to give him a half chance, and then I'll have to eat crow. Tessman did not look out of sorts at all today for 20 minutes for Lyon, even though Paramount cut the game off and wouldn't let me watch the replay. I only got to watch 15 of the 20 minutes, so I kind of pissed off about that. By the way, for the 115 of you here right now, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with your grandma. And invite your stepsister over for a nightcap. Why not? Yeah. All right.
So just follow up with the player who's nobody's really talking about. I mean, could you see a situation? This is again pulling out your crystal ball and everything like this, but since we're a little even thin on the wing options at this point, could you see somebody like a Griffin Yao or a Cole Campbell popping up out of nowhere? Not popping up out of nowhere, but
not for us, but not for the people that watch this show, but for a lot of people to be like, who is Cole Campbell?
Yeah.
Right now, Cole had some good games with Dortmund and then struggled in some, Dortmund too, and struggled in others. And so we'll see there. We've got other guys like Köhler, who plays in the Bundesliga. And then we've got the kid at Bayern Munich. So these are all players we're just going to have to keep our eyes on. But I couldn't really just pick one out of the blue. I think it would be kind of weird for me to do that. And then I put myself right back into that Zelalem situation where I picked a young player to become something when they haven't really proven it yet. But will there be a player? I don't know. I don't know if there will be a player that breaks out like a Pulisic did or like a Reina did or a McKennie or an Adams. I mean, is it possible? It is. But they're going to have to be really good if they're going to be in positions where we already have good players. Well, that's debatable. Midfield, certainly the strongest, but saying it's the strongest, it's got its issues. But Maloney, certainly not an unnamed player, but someone who's really not got much time. I think we'll see more with Poach, with Maloney. According to reports, he was called up for the last camp, Maloney, but just had that back injury the game before. Whole day ruin. SGD court reveal got delayed. SGD court reveal. SGD. What does that stand for?
I was sitting there trying to think about that too.
SGD court reveal.
Genesis, if you want to post that in the chat, I'll bring it up when I see it, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what SGD stands for. Is that a venereal disease? I don't know. All right.
So here we go. We got Fumar.
Fumar, welcome to the show, brother. Been a long time you've been on this, watching the show and commenting. We do appreciate you showing up. Thank you, brother. Uh-oh. Fumar, can you hear us? Uh-oh.
He's muted.
He muted himself.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to unmute himself.
Can you guys hear me?
There we go. There we go. What's up, brother?
Hey, I apologize, fellas.
That's all right.
Hey. How you guys doing, man?
We're doing great. Thanks for coming on.
Good.
Yeah. Really, not much. I just wanted to first off say how much I appreciate you guys' content. You guys make Monday and Thursday really enjoyable despite competing with football, which is my first love. But I give you guys my viewership and then switch to football as soon as we're over. So just appreciate you guys.
Top priority.
Cheers.
Yeah, man, you guys deserve it. It's like I really appreciate the grassroots element. You guys, Pete, Tack, I call it the Holy Triumvirate. This is where I get all my information. I'm a soccer newbie. I'm a former college athlete. I played basketball and football, but soccer is like new to me. But I'm really getting into it, and I just appreciate the forum. I appreciate the chat. I appreciate like the following. It seems like I see the same guys pretty much in all 3 chat forums. So it's just I appreciate it, and I really appreciate this. I feel like you guys open this up for interaction and being fully immersive. That's really dope. So kudos to you.
No, we appreciate that.
Yeah, man. No, I mean the appreciation. It's reciprocated, so it's an appreciation fest. I guess the only thing I wanted to say is I think we kind of panic over the center back situation. I don't really think that we're thin. I just think Berhalter, he was so peculiar with his call-ups that people are untested. So if you remember like how it took him forever to even look at Scally back when Scally was like making noise in the Bundesliga, it's kind of the same situation. We haven't really seen Trusty. So he's an unknown on the international level. And we should have already seen him. He should have already got a call up, I like CCV, but we really haven't seen enough of him. I think we just been on the Ream and Zimmerman train way too long. And, the whole Brooks thing as an aside, I just think that one of the jobs of the manager is to cultivate the pool. And Berhalter kind of did the opposite. He had his favorites, and, some of them made sense. Gio, Wes, but some of them really didn't make sense. Like, calling up Zimmerman, bringing Aaron Long, Roldan, stuff like that. And I think as a result, the pool has kind of suffered. So we haven't been exposed to players that are probably more than capable on the international level. But now we kind of are traumatized because of Berhalter and his poor selection. So like even today I was watching Tack and Pete, and they're talking about Turner and Ream and all these retreads, all these known knowns, instead of, suggesting or planting the seed that we finally start seeing like guys that have been exiled, excommunicated, really hadn't had the opportunity to wear the crest and show who they are, And to piggyback on that, and I definitely want to hear you guys talk, but just in kind of continuation, what do you think are the realistic chances that we get to see like the reemergence of a Julian Green or Dwayne Holmes like integrated, into the pool with Pochettino? Or is this a situation where it's truly a blank slate and he's coming into it with no biases, no judgment, anything like that, and we might see like 35 people come in the camp and it's more or less like a live audition for him? Or do you think he's going to piggyback off of what Berhalter's kind of already done, and then we're going to continue to see like, the same old retreads and see, Ream in camp or see Lund in camp and Luca Della Torre and people who have kind of like maxed out their ceiling and aren't really performing that well in club? I just wanted to get your guys' opinion and thoughts on that.
Thank you, Fumar. We appreciate that. I'll start off by saying some of the guys you're talking about, like Luca Della Torre, have no spot on their team. They aren't even making the 18. That's got to make Luca Della Torre nervous going into a new manager. As far as Green, I can't speak for Pochettino, but as long as Greuther Fürth are fighting for a top 2-3 spot in Bundesliga, I think you have to at least acknowledge that he exists. I don't know if that means a call up, but it might mean at least putting him in the 35 before you trim it down. And then who else did we mention there? Green,
center backs,
Dwayne Holmes.
Oh, I think Dwayne Holmes needs to fight for a regular starting spot right now on Preston North End. He's having a rough start to the season, not a regular starter, which I'm sure infuriates him, but he would need to really have a big effect at Preston North End, I think, this season to get back in the conversation. But being that he can play winger, and that can sometimes be a short spot for us if some guys are out injured, it's something to keep in mind. But I mean, Poach has said he's totally open. He's ready to open up, and anybody is, going to be considered who's doing well and playing well. So we'll see what happens there. I'd like to see his first lineup, and that's going to give me some clue about the way he thinks. Right now, kind of hard to say how he thinks, right? He just said the right things so far. Like, it's open to everybody. Everybody's welcome, blah, blah, blah. So there you go.
I fully suspect that he's going to be going. He's gonna do a lot of the retreads. Basically, stick with the same the same roster for the most part. Whoever's not injured and stuff like that, and then fill in the holes where he can, just to initially get acquainted with these players. And then at that point, I think future windows you might see some variations, some break-offs, some other players that he wants to take a look at. Even though I know JT made it sound like, like he has this plan, he has this PowerPoint set up, these are the players we want to call in. I think his overall, I'm speculating, of course, because how often do you just randomly keep tabs on all the depth of U.S. Player pool?
Right.
But I imagine that he understands the more or less the 26 to 30 players. And then aside from that, it's going to take either some inside help as far as, hey, who should we be looking at, or it's going to take time to work into that. So I think we're going to see some retreads. I don't think we necessarily need to hold on to Reem at this point. As big of a supporters of Reem as I've been over the years, and he could still be good for us. I just think we need to start looking forward into who we're going to be bringing in 2026. Because, he's going to be like 85 years old by the time 2026 gets around.
Well, you could call him up just for his experience. Doesn't mean he needs to start. Right? Especially after the last handful of games.
I'm wondering about Stefan too. Just your guys' opinion. Like, is his excommunication, is that purely talent based, or do you think, this is a stigma? I really feel like, I don't know what it was, but there was some kind of personal element with Stefan and Berhalter and not even being included on the Qatar roster. I didn't understand that. I thought we should have brought Stefan, Horvath, and Turner. But do you see a pathway for Stefan to get back into the mix, or are we still sticking with Turner, who is went from third string to second string and seems to be caught in this hopeless, vortex of not playing, and Horvath looks super, super shaky?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Fumar. We're going to let you go, but appreciate that question. I'm going to answer it. But I think that there was a situation, obviously, between, and it's not a secret really anymore.
We reported it. Yeah, we talked about it.
That phone call for the World Cup, the original call between Greg and Stefan did not go well. That basically Greg told him he was going to be second string, and that he didn't want him to be a disruption to the team during the World Cup. And that was pretty much Turner was a lock. That kind of pissed Stefan off. That conversation did not go well. It was negative, bad, blah, blah, blah. Their relationship soured. And then Berhalter basically decided, well, if he's going to be that upset, I'm just going to dump them all together, which is what he did. Now, does Stefan have a chance going forward? Yes. He's going to have to be more consistent with Colorado. He's had pockets where he's been really good. He was really good in the cup games for Colorado, but then during the regular season, he's had some ups and downs. But I think right now, as far as goalkeeper goes, this shit's wide open. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
So
that's all I was going to say on the matter. Yeah.
If he can string some games together, he's good to go.
Okay. Moving on here, we got a couple people in the back room, so let's move on to Mr. Negron himself.
Jesse Negron, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great. This is we thought, well, what if we let guys come on our show? You think they're going to ruin it? Right? No, they're not.
No, it's great. It's great. I get to talk to the two most handsome guys in the U.S. soccer landscape.
Oh, stop.
I can't tell. Did he just call me two people?
All right. I was gonna blush, but Brett's gonna take all the credit here.
It's both of you guys.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it. What's on your mind tonight?
So I was just kind of reminiscing, and so whenever you guys were bringing on guests. I was kind of the asshole who at the end would ask like if they had any stepsister advice. And I was curious if you guys remember Wijnalda''s answer. I just remember like asking Wijnald'a, and he gave the most sincere answer about like cultivating relationships with his stepchildren. And I've never felt like a bigger asshole in my whole life.
Yeah, that one kind of that because he does have stepkids. I mean, he's on a second marriage. I'm sure though he wouldn't want his stepkids hooking up. They're, they are just a few years apart. They were at the time when he remarried quite young, and so they would have considered themselves brothers and sisters. I think for reals. That's when it gets a little weird, it does get a little weird. So, but yeah, that serious answer, that was pretty.
I always find it funny because you make the super chat and I saw it coming. I knew somebody was going to make it and you made it consistently. And it's like, I pull it up all the time and Derek always tries to gloss over like, oh, don't worry about this question.
Oh my God.
We try. Yeah. Anything else on here while you're here?
Well,
my brother?
if you guys are gonna get the new FIFA, you should definitely like send out your gamer tag or something, and we should get a group going.
So it's funny because I was talking with Derek about this, and the reason why we were going to get EAFC 24 initially was because we wanted to do a club, me and him join up on the same club and play club throughout the season and fight promotion, relegation, whatever hell it is. But EAFC 24 got rid of the 2-player aspect of that.
Got you.
And we couldn't play, so we sort of sat by, and then my son actually picked it up and started playing it a lot more than I did. But I was telling Derek, I'm like, let's get EAFC 25. I'm pretty sure what I've read of it so far, they fixed that or included aspects where you can do the 2-player on most things.
Yeah. Also, the pro clubs is pretty fun, which is like you build your own player, and then you could get like 8 or 9 people on the same team.
That's true. I mean, what we wanted to do really is play seasons together, season after season.
Got you.
And buy players, and then they forced us to play against real people online instead of playing like the AI, which is what we wanted to do because getting real competition consistently. We found to be a very big difficulty because once we started kicking their ass, they quit.
Got you.
Yeah.
That's the most frustrating aspect of that, really.
Yeah. So all the live people would quit when we play against them. Like if they were down 2-0, they just quit. So it
would have to be something like setting it up where we have like a Discord and we would have a group of people who all want to play, and then we just play that. We would actually play the actual public because it's impossible to get a full match. At least from the short bit that we played.
That's for sure. Yeah. Hey, Jesse, thanks for being a big supporter and being around. We do appreciate it. And it's good to know that this community we've known to come to trust and love, that's why we're doing this tonight. It's because
it's a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have no fears. Like I talked to Brett about it. We were talking about before this show came on earlier this week. We're like, let's just do it. Like, I trust our guys, I trust them.
It's not our guys that I was concerned with. It's people who aren't normally our guys, The people in the chat trust everybody in the chat. The chat is 100% positive. But I mean, I'm just imagine that there'd be just one person in here to come and ruin the fun.
Yep, exactly. All right.
I
so
think everyone will be good.
All right, thanks, guys. Love you, man. All right. So 100. For the 150 of you here, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. For whatever reason, Brett and I see different numbers on the live. I don't know why. I'm guessing Brett's seeing probably. I always get it earlier than you do.
Judgmental deity says that one person is Spicy Jeff.
Tony's not back on again, is he? No, he's not. You already had him on.
I removed Tony after we were done talking. He jumped back in, so I don't know if Tony's got another question. I asked him in the chat; he didn't respond. So, Tony, if you got another question, we can bring you in a little bit, I guess. As we're getting close to the end of the hour.
Yeah, make sure that you like and subscribe and share it with your grandma. Give your stepsister a peck on the cheek as we bring in one of our favorites as well, Broken Furnace Recordings. How are things going? How are things jamming? Hope things are well.
Things are great, man. How about you?
Very good. Very well. I'm actually playing, my friend, on the 11th of October in Bloomington, Indiana. It'll be the last show my band ever does. So
how's the practices been coming along?
Oh, we're not practicing except for the night right before the show, even though we haven't played for almost 15 years, 12 years.
Yeah, that's good. To wing it, that's the best way to do it, man. Comes out raw and good.
They're complicated songs, though. That's the problem. And although it's all the original members, not original members, the most long-term members of the band. So I trust them. They're learning all the hard parts. All I got to do is go out there and sing and play keyboard on like 3 songs. So I'm fine. I'm ready to go. It's them. I'm not concerned. They're good. They're professionals. They'll do their job.
Well, I hope they got free beers for you in the green room. I was looking for the free beers in this virtual green room, and I got a little lost there for a minute.
Well, you know what? I hope, for God's sake, they don't give us too many free beers, because the last time that happened in a green room, Tony, my other second guitarist, the lead guitarist, could barely stand and barely play. So I had to grab his guitar and play the rest of the show. And that was back in 2004. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. By the way, tonight I am drinking the 6th glass again because I highly recommend it. It is a quad, and it is somewhere up there in the high 10.2 ABV. Quite good, and it is made right here in America, Belgian ale. All right, what do you got? What's on your mind, Broken?
Hey, actually, I got a bottle of old boutique whiskey that I've been sitting on. I haven't cracked it, and I've been meaning to send it to you guys. So
definitely send it to Brett, because whiskey makes me mean.
Okay.
We want to see that too, Derek. Come on.
And I'm already mean enough, so I don't want to go there.
You're already
yeah, that's a good tip. Thanks for the heads up on that.
Any soccer thoughts?
Yeah. Where'd the fluff go today?
We are the fluff. I mean, this is kind of fluff here, right?
We got a little bit of fluff after this. After the call-in section's done. Yeah.
Yeah, just hopefully Pulisic keeps on his fiery streak, and
loving it.
Wishing all the Americans the best,
No, I love it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's been great. I'm not sure about, we'll get to it with Lawless's announcement that he's now a top 25 player in the world. We'll get to that. But I mean, it's been exciting. It's been fun. My parents are getting into it as well, even though they don't have Paramount. So they've only been able to watch 2 games so far out of all of them. But they get up and watch it too. So Pulisic, the only, I think, brand name player my parents get up to watch on purpose. So that's good news for casuals.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Good to hear.
Yeah. Hey, man, we love you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks so much. All the best.
Right. Good night.
Cheers.
All right. Let's see.
I'm gonna bring Tony in just to see if he has a second question, I guess. But aside from that, I don't see anybody else in the green room. So
okay, cool.
Tony, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, you're back. Did you have more?
I've been here. I've been going in and out.
You have more?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just gonna comment about the Don Garber. I mean, what can we do to separate him from, MLS and U.S. soccer? I mean, is there any? How does that work? Or I mean, it seems like everybody thinks it's a,
He's got tenure, man. That he's there for life, unfortunately.
Yeah, he really is.
Until he bows out.
But I mean, I still think there needs to be some separation there.
I would agree there needs to be. However, the way things work right now at U.S. Soccer, he's a board member, been there for 14 years. I just don't see it happening. I don't see them letting go of that. I think U.S. Soccer needs that connection with the MLS because of the billionaire owners in MLS. It's a short way for them to get through Garber to the billionaire owners, as they have with Atlanta owner, who basically built them a whole, for free. It's not for free. Obviously, Arthur Blank wants some sort of attention for that, although he didn't get any as far as the upcoming U.S. men's national team games come. But, there's no separating Garber right now until Garber retires, which I don't think he's going to do for at least another 10 years. I think we got another 10 years at least of Garber.
I know we're while we're talking on Garber, and this is going to come up during the U.S. Open Cup portion, but it's too good to pass. So we got to be a quote from Kai Kamara,
right?
Where he basically says, "Don Garber was here. I saw him. He was on the podium. He gave me a medal. So just get him in here and make sure he don't take MLS away from U.S. Open Cup."
Yep. So, yeah, I think, and they've already made an earlier statement, did Garber and MLS, that they fully plan to be completely engaged in next year's Open Cup. So I expect to see more teams. I don't know how they're going to work that out. But, yeah, here's the tricky thing, my friend. Tony, I just don't think there's any way to get rid of Garber. MLS has kind of made their bed with him and getting rid of him. And just think about the president of U.S. Soccer's Cindy Parlow-Cone, who ran, their marketing branch for, I don't know, almost a decade. So kind of hard when, in fact, it was funny when they hired Poach. Did you notice how long they hugged Cindy Parlow-Cone and Don Garber? That was a long time. That was a long hug.
At least 3 or 4 Mississippis. Yeah.
That was at least. It was the longest hug in the press conference. They really know each other. They've known each other for over a decade. They love each other. And I mean, not love as in they're having sex.
As in friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the situation there. Anything else, Tony?
No, I'm good. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, man. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
All right. This was fun. Maybe
Kevin Brenner says, unless Garber is on P. Diddy's list.
I doubt it. But we'll see.
Why would the owners of MLS ever want to get rid of him anyways? Because he's a great puppet.
Right.
He's a great puppet, and the owners just go in there, shove their hands up his ass, and speak for him. And
okay, that's fair. But let's give Don Garber a little credit. So here's the little credit Don Garber gets. We think of Tam and Gam and we make fun of it. But why Tam and Gam had to be created to put more money into the team so they could spend more was because guys at the Revs, we all know who owns the Revs, and a lot of the old school owners were blocking a larger raise of the cap, right? And so what did Don Garber do? He's like, okay, you're going to block the rest of the other teams from raising the cap. I got you. I hear you. But what we're going to do is every time we bring in a new fucking team and they have to pay $300 million to get in the league or more going forward, we're going to give that money. We're going to splice it up and give a chunk of it to all the teams that they get to spend more on. And they can use this Tam and Gam money to kind of balance out the roster and go get more players. They get to spend more even though there's a cap. This will allow them to spend over the cap with this Tam and Gam money. So is he the only? He's not the only evil. The biggest evil in MLS are the original owners who want to keep this shit capped hard. Garber's trying to work with them. Then he's trying to work with Seattle, Miami, and teams, LAFC, Galaxy, that do want to spend money. They want the cap raised. So he's got to figure out a way to do that. And he's done that with Tam and Gam, even though it's completely, for most average fans, a confusing, like, what is that all about? What does that even mean, Tam and Gam? Where's that money coming from? Well, that's how he tried to get around the old school owners blocking him from raising the cap higher. Because remember, in an interview about 7 or 8 years ago, when he was doing an interview with the Seattle Sounders owners, he said he agreed with the Seattle Sounders owner that the cap needed to be raised more every year than it was currently being raised, but that he couldn't do anything about it based on who is on the board at the MLS making the decisions. That is the old school owners who made the largest investment early on in the league and made the league possible. So they're going to have the biggest say, and they still have the biggest say. So he's trying to work around that. Go ahead, Brett.
No,
That's all.
We've talked about it before as far as giving Don his credit for the game of Tam.
Yeah, I just want to provide context. It's not like Tam and Gam is not the answer going forward. Don has worked tirelessly to add more DPs as things have gone on. Listen, I'm not a Don Garber fan. All right, I got plenty of criticisms. We say it all the time on this show, so I'm not going to recap my criticisms of MLS and Don Garber. But we got to acknowledge the things that he has done to open up spending in the league. That he has done. Now you can say, well, it seems to me he's opened up spending a lot more for LA Galaxy and LAFC and Miami. They seem to be able to spend whatever they want and get away with it. Okay, yeah, there's some questionable spending there that I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how Miami has what is basically a loaded-ass team of Barcelona players on it. I don't know how he's getting away with it. I don't know how they're doing it. There's some tricky math going on there, but it is what it is. Yeah. All right. For the 180 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. This was fun, guys. We'll do it again. We will do this again.
The call in is going to replace the fluff.
Well, the fluff is going to have to be really, really brief at this point.
Just because you asked for it. How about this fluff? I'm going to have to occasionally get rid of the audio because I don't want to get dinged for it. So
it's amazing how well this is, how great
AI is
nuts. Got Come Chill Ill. Obama looks great. Everybody looks real. It's frightening. It's burning. This is really well done. Whoever did this, really well done. I love it. Oh, this is so well done. Oh, look. Yeah. Okay. Directed by the Door Brothers. There you go.
Yeah.
Just great. That's just fantastic. Well done, whoever made that. I laughed when I watched it. Labradad says for $4.99, thanks, guys, for embracing the fans and doing call-in. Hopefully you can do it again and maybe let us know in advance to allow more thoughtful questions. We will. I think we're going to do this every Thursday. That's going to be the thing.
Yeah, 4-bit. I think, yeah, we've talked about implementing this in and then possibly making changes moving forward. But yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's tough to talk 3 hours.
We're not doing 3 hours.
Sometimes it's tough to get a 2 to 3 hour show out of some of the topics that we're left with because
it is.
Well, sometimes there's days where we're sitting there like we didn't think that we'd go an hour and a half on these topics, and then all of a sudden it's like 3 hours and 40 minutes, and it is what it is. I mean, we are who we are.
No, I think the problem is Brett, is the shows are too long.
Yeah,
I think 3 hours is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous now because you've got a big boy teaching job.
Well, yeah, I wasn't worried about your sleep. I was feeling it. I was like, if this guy wants to go that long, fine. I'll do it too.
3 hours. 3 hours are fine. Whenever Derek was like, I generally stay up till 1:30 in the morning, anyways. I don't have to be at work until like 9:30 or whatever. Now it's like I got to get up at 6 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, I know. It kind of sucks sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, working at a school is work, man. It's real work. It's not like. I mean, I had to be at work at 9 before. Now I got to be at work at 8. That's a big difference. Thanks, guys, for the call in. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And as I predicted, no problems. I'll call next time. I was embarrassed to call because I was pooping. Yeah, I mean, listen, as long as it was a quiet poop, I think it would have been okay.
One single plop.
But if you're like, and it's, that's probably not good. But yeah, if it were a nice, quiet, sliding out poop, probably fine. This is crazy talk.
Well, let's see if it's crazy talk.
All right.
What is world class? Well, you got your definition. I have my definition. But if you want to know what world class is, it's Christian Pulisic. In this moment, right now, Christian Pulisic, he's got either a goal and an assist in his last 5 games. I think he is playing his best soccer of his career. And I'm telling you right now, Christian Pulisic, at this moment, is one of the top 25 players in the world. He just happens to be American.
Well, you could probably make the argument. Oh, by the way, it looks like he's wearing an eye patch on his right eye through that whole thing because of the shadow.
Yeah.
Yarr. I think he's been better than Leao so far this season.
It's early still, but yes.
Is he a top 25 player in the world if you include defenders, midfielders? I don't think so. I think that's pushing it. I think that's pushing it real hard. Push it real good.
This is the point where we were debating about this last week, or maybe it was even Monday. But what's the definition of world class at that point? And I tend to be a little more of a stickler as far as who gets donned the world class helmet.
Yep. Yeah, I do too.
So I would say he's an elite player.
Yes.
And if he continues his Milan form as he continues to, age up, I would lump him in with the world-class player at that point.
I would say he's top 100 for sure.
Sure. No, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
But, if I'm including all the positions and who's world-class at all those positions, I can't get him to 25. I'm not even close. Not even close.
But that's also the thing, though. I don't have to sit here and there doesn't have to be. I mean, there probably is, but there doesn't have to be 25 world-class players at any given moment. At any given season.
No, so I don't even think there are.
It's not a category that it's like, well, we got 12 so far. We need another 13. No, it's a category that I would say, well, this guy's world class, that guy's world class, this guy's world class. The rest are elite. They're really good at what they do. They're top tier, but they're not quite world class.
And I think the problem here, as you're putting it, is the definition, right? Yeah. For me, I'm with you. I'm like, okay, they're really only like 12 world class, like somewhere around there, world class players right now. I could name a few: Mbappe, Kevin De Bruyne, blah, 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 whatever. But the rest of them are elite. They're elite players, and that's our definition that we just happen to share on accident. We didn't do this on purpose. We just agree with one another. So I would put them in the elite category, somewhere in the top 100, but not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Though I almost when I think of world class, I think of like the icon players that people are going to remember years down the road. And I'm not saying that Pulisic won't be remembered by me, especially here stateside. Will absolutely
he will be. Yes.
To us, he might be world class, but to the world, as far as being what world class would be considered, I don't know. And even if he has incredibly good years moving forward, will he be lumped into that? Will people down the road, pulling whatever the cards in the Ultimate Team on FIFA or EA now, be like, dude, I got a Pulisic 94. Woo!
I think when you look at really good national teams, most of them have like 2 or 3 at best world-class players at the top highest level at the World Cup. And the rest of the players are either elite, most of them, or they are really damn good. And I don't know if I'm the level right behind elite. I guess I'm categorizing as really goddamn good. Can you have a team that has 4, 2 or 3 elite players, no world-class players, and a lot of really goddamn good, hardworking players go far in a World Cup? You absolutely can. Morocco proved that. Other teams have proved it in the past. And so do we have any other elite players outside of Pulisic? Probably not. We have some really goddamn good ones. I think McKennie at his best can be that. I think Adams healthy can be that. I think Dest is a really goddamn good player, but not elite. He's not elite. No. He's not elite. So I'm not putting Dest in Pulisic's category. Jedi, can't even put him in elite yet. He's still just a really goddamn good, solid-ass player. So for me, depending on the mix, I think Fumar was saying you don't need a bunch of world-class players to win a World Cup. You don't. You really don't necessarily, or to win a European Cup, as Greece proved many years ago. as other teams have proved by making the semifinals, Korea, Morocco, etc. You don't need a bunch of elite motherfuckers to do that. You just need to have a really good team chemistry. You need some good players or a couple really goddamn good players and maybe one elite player, but you don't even need any fucking world-class players to make it to a semifinal of a World Cup. That's been proven.
Well, I mean, as we've broken down our definition of world classes and what our standard, I guess, is like we said, there may not necessarily. I mean, a lot of national teams may not have anybody like for decades, if not ever, have a
Ronaldo, Messi, Beckenbauer, Pele. To me, that's world class. Maybe that's too high. Cruyff. I'm thinking of that as world class. Now, that's my definition. That doesn't need to be yours. If you want to broaden your own vision of what world class means, go ahead and do it. But Brett and I think are in the same place here as what world class means.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, that is one fucking hell of a player. Holy crap, he's one of the best that's ever played. To me, that's world class, and everything else that isn't that, but is really goddamn good, is elite.
Yeah.
It is semantics,
yeah.
Dr. Doom. You're right.
100%, yeah. It is. It's a matter of an opinion. There's no actual definition of what world class is. No standard, no metrics, no nothing. It's how you feel. And if somebody wants to come out here and say every season who are your 25 world class players, meaning who's the best players at that moment, by all means you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, anybody can have a good solid year,
Right.
That doesn't mean that they're necessarily world class, but
yep. For the 200 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma, and just tell your stepsister we love her.
And if Pulisic continues the route he's going, who might remember him as after he retires and stuff like that, are some Milan fans.
Oh yeah, this is fun. These Italians are so great. They're hugging. Puli.
Good Lord.
Look how sad that guy looks. Oh my God. He doesn't even want to acknowledge that they're losing. Anyhow, great game by Pulisic. I'm not taking that away from him just because I don't think he's world class, because I don't. And I do not think he's a top 25 player in the world yet. Not if you add all the different positions in, for sure. Then he's definitely not. He's not even close. But if he continues to cream and destroy all season long in Serie A and does the same in Europe, playing the cup games, then, who knows? Who knows what could happen this season for him? Could this be his big breakout season? My problem is I've seen stretches like this from Pulisic before. And then I've seen some downtimes. Like you'll have 2 or 3 games where what happened? What happened? He was killing it. Now, not anymore.
So,
yep.
Woke up and his knee is tweaked, and all of a sudden couldn't do whatever. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
On a separate note, Derek, the 2025 Gold Cup venues have been announced, and I've got to say, have you seen the picture of the United States and where they're located at?
Yeah, but there's a reason for it. I'm about to tell you.
I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Somebody let me know, and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because I had the same knee-jerk reaction as everybody else. There seems to be a giant hole, not the one in the center, because obviously the only place in the center that you could play would either be Salt Lake City or Colorado.
No one's playing in Boise, Idaho anytime.
Yeah, exactly. Montana, nope, nothing's gonna happen there. So there's a big hole, and that big hole is the East Coast. Now, I'm sure you were going to say why the East Coast is void of Gold Cup game.
Right, because there was an agreement with FIFA that the Club World Cup would be predominantly on the East Coast. So there you go.
Everything besides, I think, one location or something like that is on the East Coast. So I made the comment after that. I go, well, that's strange because why not, have one in Nashville? What about Charlotte if we're going to be looking at MLS stadiums? But I got reminded that this Gold Cup is a special Gold Cup. It's not just your standard Gold Cup.
Okay.
Right? Isn't this the Gold Cup that they're planning on bringing in two teams from each conference or whatever?
Yep.
And a lot of the locations are going to be apparently the World Cup venues locations.
They're testing them out. That makes sense.
So that makes sense why you don't see like a Charlotte or Nashville or whatever.
Yeah. So the Club World Cup, which will also be in the United States, will be played on the East Coast. So it was a deal with FIFA. They're like, yeah, we're going to pummel the East Coast with the Club World Cup. So if you could just spread out the Gold Cup a little on the other Midwest and West, that'll be great. They agreed. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. Jorge Castillo says, Brett Combo 1X was with me. Yes. Thank you, Jorge.
Yeah, every time he'd say something, he'd say, "Hey, well, the Club World Cup's going to be here on the East Coast." I'd say like, "Hooray!" I guess, But then it's like, "Well, what about this, this, and this?" And he's like, "Well, this," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." So yeah, it's one of those things. Again, it had the same knee-jerk reaction as 90% of the people out there saying, "Wow, no East Coast, huh?" But yeah, all makes sense why.
By the way, Jorge is what name in English?
George.
Yes. Well done,
George.
Brett. Well done, Brett.
I took Spanish for 3 semesters.
You know what my name was in French class?
We've talked about this before because you guessed what my Spanish name was, but what's yours?
In 4th grade, it was Didier. Or Didier. They pronounced it DDA. DDA. Yeah. Anyhow, that's the closest thing to Derek they could come up with.
So they picked your name for you, huh?
They did.
That's lame.
But then when I went out for kickball, everybody chanted DDA, DDA, DDA. And that was cool. I liked it. And
pretty cool. Yeah.
All the way through 7th grade, everybody called me DDA. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
That's a cool nickname to have, yeah.
I think that was in West Point, New York. Yep. Yeah, it's a cool nickname to have because I was really good at kickball, as you can imagine. A lot better than the others.
Yep. Everybody would always back up and
backing up, so I just drive it down the 3rd baseline like a fucking rocket.
Keep it low.
Keep it low and run all the way for a home run usually, but
yeah.
All right.
We got mine was a more middle school era in high school, actually more high school actually, when we took our foreign languages. Once you're towards the peak of your learning capability, that's when you really start learning the second language. Not when you're really, soaking everything up like a sponge. My kids come home, I know how to count to 20. I'm like, dude, you're in 1st grade. What the fuck? But no, we got to pick our own name. We didn't have to. I didn't have to do like I don't know what Brett would even be, El Bretto, but
yeah, no, there's no Brett in Spanish, no direct translation.
I'm sure there's something that they would pick that would be close enough to it, but yeah, I went with Paco.
That's so bad.
Oh,
all right,
what's wrong with Paco?
Well, it's just that there was a Mexican guy that hung out with us a lot in high school, and everybody called him Taco. He didn't care. That was his name, just like my name was DDA or whatever. But it's like now thinking back on it, I'm like, damn, we called that guy Taco just because he was a Mexican American. His dad was a fucking lieutenant colonel.
I didn't say my name was Taco.
No, you said Paco. I get it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I get it. It's just like so.
You're trying to lump me in that borderline racist story, Derek. I don't want to be lumped.
It wasn't racist back then. Nobody thought about it. It's just like that was his nickname. Everybody had a nickname. Whether it was none of the nicknames, by the way, were appropriate. By the way, most of them were not. So he had Little Turd. He had the Dick Brothers, Little Dick and Big Dick. Now none of it was appropriate. So none of it.
I'm being told that I could have gone with Beto or Roberto.
There you go.
Roberto, if you're Bobby Boucher.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, I don't think that's true. Did I ever tell you what my dad wanted to name me when I was born and everything? Like my dad had
Richard,
a pot name for both me and my brother because he used to smoke pot back in the day.
Dick.
Nope. So I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint on my brother's name would have been so you can have an idea of what to kind of go with. He wanted to name my brother Ziggy Oglethorpe.
Oh, so Bob? You want to name you Bob?
No, maybe no. I was going to be Pierre Raoul. I'll tell you this much: I would have rocked Pierre Raoul, especially playing soccer.
I don't get the connection with Ziggy.
It's such a random fucking name.
Well, I was thinking Ziggy Marley. That's why I said Bob Marley.
I got you now.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, okay, that's weird. Your dad's weird, which is cool. I like the fact that your dad's weird.
He partook. So
he was a hippie, probably.
No. Just a pothead through the 70s and everything.
That's a hippie.
No.
He wasn't a leftist?
No.
Protester, didn't protest the Vietnam War.
No.
Oh, all right.
Smoked pot, got drunk all through college.
He's just a partier. That's what he was. Okay. That's what I was. All right.
Kevin goes, damn, those are pimp names. Yeah, no. I would have rocked that, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think you would have. That would have been cool for the name of the show. People would have assumed you'd be foreign.
Yeah. I would have picked up an accent throughout my lifetime. I mean, I would have done something French.
My name is Brett Corbett.
Oui.
Welcome to the show. I want to welcome my host, my co-host, Derek Richet.
My favorite league is League 1.
League 1. You're still working on the pronunciation of most of those French teams, so that's interesting.
I'm doing my best.
All right, what else we got?
What else do we have indeed? Well, I know we're an hour and 7 minutes in, but let's hit one of our favorite segments of the show.
All right.
We're not doing the Where Are They Now because you didn't send me one, but we're going to do a different segment.
Do not panic. Do not panic. Cap them now. Cap them now.
This is the one you kind of alluded to earlier today.
I did. Brandon Austin did get the start, or no. Did he get the start? Was he on the bench? He was on the bench.
On the bench.
My bad. But the fact that he made the bench, it's something to keep an eye on. We'll see if he actually gets to play. If he does, with our goalkeeper situation, we're desperate. Just watch every goalkeeper out there that's young. I don't think any of them are old enough to really be a legit. But goalkeeper for the World Cup 2026 come time. But if you're good enough, you're old enough, is what I've always heard. So if any of them become that, great.
BP does paint a picture here.
Ligue 1.
He just finished, yeah.
Ligue 1. So we'll keep an eye on Brandon Austin. He has played not only for us, but I think he's played for the English youth teams too. So
don't know. I'd have to take a look at that.
I'm not panicking though.
No,
I don't have time for it. All right, for the 215 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma, and if she's alive. If she's not, don't get offended by the fact that I said share it with grandma, because my grandma's dead too. All right, so there is that. And then, your stepsister, she's all good. All right, Devin Tanton, in his first 5 matches for Chesterfield in the EFL League. This is a real stretch, I think, Devin Tanton. But then again, you just keep your eyes open and he is a former Fulham guy, I believe, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Appearances 5, starts 5. Yeah, lots of minutes. Okay. That's good.
Okay, he's on a season-long loan from Fulham.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're not.
Is he the Colombian center back dude? we keep bringing up it, but he's like already played for like the Colombian youth teams for so much.
Yeah, I think he's already made his decision.
I guess still keep an eye until it's legit done. You know.
So Zach, we love you, but I don't think that we're really in the bidding at this point. I think Devin's made his decision. Honestly, I think he has, especially youth team wise and future wise. But that's fine. If you want to hold on to that, I'm totally cool with that.
So it looks like he may have to do a one-time switch. If I'm understanding the stupid cap-tied rules, they keep changing on me, or forgetting him. But he says BMR says he's provisionally cap-tied,
which is going to change because they're right now at FIFA going over another review and revision of the cap tie rules right now. As we speak, they're doing it.
They're sitting down like, guys, maybe we should not make this so complicated.
They're basically going to make it, they're going to lower the requirements. Now it's going to go from 21 to 22 age-wise. It's going to go from 5 to 4 years of being a citizen. They're making it easier is what they're doing right now. And that is the proposal I saw today. So it could be easier to switch sides. It could be easier, or you could make the decision could be something you don't have to make until a year later than you have to do now. So we'll see. But Devin Tanton,
just go simple. Just say simple rules. When you get cap tied, to a FIFA sanctioned event. At that point, whatever citizenship you have, if you have in this case Colombia and United States, then at that point, if you want to play for the United States, you file the one-time switch, you're done. You don't have to worry about any form of shenaniganry if you're this age, or you have to go this many years without playing a game before you can do this or do that. Just make it clean, cut, and simple.
Well, they can't for some reasons, because some countries have their own rules, like Japan with Henri Race, Henri Chase, which is Henri Chase switches sides. He's done. He's got no more Japanese citizenship.
Well,
so
that's fine. If your citizenship gets revoked by the country, then you're kind of stuck.
Yes, you are.
I mean, it makes no difference if he sticks with Japan, because then all of a sudden his options with the United States are done because he can't make the switch. Otherwise, he loses his Japanese citizenship.
He has no intention of
I'm not saying he does. I'm just saying that we're using him as an example here.
Right. He's got no intention of switching to us. And in this case, same thing. Cole Campbell, 06, first 5 matches for Dortmund, 2, and Dortmund UYL team, 5 appearances, 4 starts, lots of minutes, 1 goal. Chances created 2. I mean, I think a lot of us had higher hopes for these first 5 games. Dortmund have been outplayed in some of those games by lower division teams in 3 Bundesliga, I believe it is. I believe it is.
Something like that, yeah.
And the grown men have played better than the boys from Dortmund too. So not a lot happening for him here. But, I mean, he's had some incredible moments. There's no doubt about that. I've seen all the highlight footage, and you're like, wow.
I've seen I've seen his preseason games with Dortmund. I know it's just preseason, of course. But, I mean, it is nice in that sense that he's still being considered for the first team. They're keeping closer tabs on him. Let's put it that way, I guess. So hopefully he picks some things up here. Notches a couple more goals, creates a couple more chances or whatever, and then get a look at the big boys or something.
I don't think he's going to get a look at the big boys anytime soon, based on the way they played this past weekend. They played horribly. That bodes well for Reyna, who's on the outside looking in, and of course, there's a quote coming up, I think, from Sahin.
Yep. Actually, let's pull that up since we're talking about it, I guess, as well.
Sahin said Julian Ryerson and Rami Bensapiani had a bit of a cold, but are now back. Gio Reyna is on the right track. He might be able to play before the international break, which is really good news.
So it looks like he's expecting him to be back on the bench and ready to play within a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we reported it, whether it was last Thursday or this Monday, that he was just getting back to individual training. So
Yep. Somebody saying, I doubt a Japanese person cares. They'd rather be American. I don't know if you can assume that. I don't think you can. His mother, Henri Chase's mother, is Japanese. So I don't think you can assume anything there, Daniel. I think that's a personal decision for him to make, for him personally. So, all right. But thanks, Zach, for posting those things. We complain of a squad with diva attitudes because they're coddled and entitled. Laughing out loud. Interesting moment with Kevin Sullivan and his teammate. The look he gives after the free kick. Like, yeah, I don't know who 41 is. Not a real.
I've seen somebody mention who it is.
It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is that why is he up in Kevin Sullivan's face, I guess, to take this free kick?
Well, I mean, it looks like he wants to take it, and Kevin said, "No, bro, that's my take."
Like he steps in front of him, like, I'm gonna take this. Kevin Sullivan's like, "Nah, dude, you ain't taking dick. Here's my fucking arm, and I'm pushing your fucking little. I'm giving you a titty twister, and I'm almost smacking you in the face too. I'm basically calling you a bitch."
Looks like he's about to smack him on his ass. Look at that. All right, man, you get this. Smack. Nope, he missed. Like, he missed by a mile, man. Come on.
I don't know what that is. He almost poked himself in the eye. And then Kevin steps up and just fucking kills it.
I've seen a number of people talking about this. And of course, sitting here talking about, like, American fans questioning whether or not he's got an ego, an attitude, or whatever. You're fine to do so. He's still a 14-year-old kid, but he is playing on the 2 team with 23 and ups.
Yep.
Around, not necessarily. It doesn't have to be a U23, but it's a 14-year-old who knows that he's good. He's talented. He just signed with. He's made some first team appearances already. Small ones here and there. He's already signed with Man City. I would expect him to have some kind of an ego, like a level of cockiness that we've missed since Dempsey. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what's happening here, but it is kind of the same cocky attitude that you would have expected a 14-year-old Dempsey to do if he was in the same situation. Looking back, motherfucker, you wanted to take that kick? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think, like, if you've been on a team and you've played, like, competitive soccer, as Brett and I have had, this kind of moment isn't, like, absolutely unusual. It has happened where you're like, no, I got this. No, I got this. No, I got this. Step the fuck back. And then usually the right guy ends up taking it because he's proved it. And somebody else on the team comes up and says, no, you step back, motherfucker. This guy's got it. In this case, it looked like Gavin just said, listen, no, I got this. Step back, step the fuck back. And even though he's 14, he's not like a small human being. You can tell this guy's going to grow up and probably be the size of his older brother who plays for Philadelphia. I mean, he's got a lot of growing to do. He's got at least 2 to 3 more years of growing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is not going to be the size Kevin Sullivan, but boy, is he talented. And I'm
he's
glad.
A lot more stock. He's stockier than Quinn.
He is. And I'm glad he stepped up and said, no, I'm taking this motherfucker, because you need that kind of confidence. You don't want arrogance. But listen, he was cocky. He was assured of himself. And look what the result was. And as long as that's the result at the end, I'm totally fine with the player going, no, this is mine. Step the fuck back, bitch. This is mine. And he took it, and it led to a goal. So there you go.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to end off with this. After the game that, whatever, they had it out like, dude, I was there first. You should let me take it. And he's like, no, I got the assist. And then they went out and had root beers together. So
they probably did. I don't know if that's true. I wouldn't have mocked my own player. I would not have done that. I would not look back at him and said, see, I told you so, you bitch. Because you already made him your bitch when you said, step the fuck back. I'm taking this.
So it's funny. It's funny because it depends on the person, right? I mean, when I was playing with my friends in high school and stuff like that, I would have absolutely done that.
Well,
I would have absolutely been like, told you so, motherfucker,
And if I were the other player, I would have been like, yeah, you got me, bitch. You got me. You did it. So good for you. Like I would have walked up to him and given him a high five because they're like, yeah, you called it. You called it. You called it. And you were right. Like I would have been man enough to step up and say, you were right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many times that happened to me playing the game where, because I never demanded the ball. I was definitely not the best player on the team. I was like maybe the third or fourth best player on the team. And so, when it came to taking penalty kicks, I did take some. And I did score some free kicks from outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when Chad McGowan wasn't on the field, right? That's when David Ward wasn't on the field. Then it was me. After they were off the field, I'm on the field, I'm taking the penalty kicks. And I'm taking the corners. And I'm taking all the set pieces. But if they're still on the field, David Ward's taking the set pieces. And Chad McGowan's taking all the free kicks and the penalty kicks. Like, we already knew who it was. So there was no real argument. But there was a time when you're like this is my best angle. Let me take this one. I can get the cross in better. Like I know this cross. And so that happens at times. Like I should think that shouldn't have been an issue. Whoever the captain of that team should have worked that out. They shouldn't have to be jostling about it, So anyhow.
I mean, I never wanted to take the free kicks ever. That was not my shtick. I could shoot the ball well. I just, when it comes to like getting it up and over the box and trying to dip it or whatever, it was never something I worked on. So I never had anybody taking those free kicks.
You were worried about getting on the end.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah. I remember the first time my freshman season I ever took a corner. And I think I was, in late in the game because we were up. And I kicked the ground before I kicked the ball. And it went like 10 feet. I'm like, oh, my God. Because I was trying to get under it, right?
Yeah.
So I got too far under it, and I ended up kicking the ground. And my toe ended up hitting the top of the ball, and it rolled like 10 feet. How embarrassing was that? It was embarrassing. Anyhow, it is what it is.
Tony Martinez says Brett gets it in the end. Ooh, yikes.
Gets what in the end?
You said you like to get on the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of young players and their unpredictability, because we always talk about how, hey guys, he's 14 years old. Don't break out the lube. That's wrong. First off, but second off, you don't know how he's going to end up. So I want Scott Jork on Twitter posted the past 15 years of U.S. male and young U.S. male player of the year. Now, U.S. male player of the year, easy, because that's just who's performing well at the senior level. But the problem is you start throwing in that young player of the year, and it gets a little more difficult.
Yeah.
To predict who it is. So I wanted to go over those 15 years and just take a look at these names and have a little laugh at some of them.
Okay.
So this is 2009.
Marlon Duran?
Yeah.
Lewis Gill?
You remember Lewis Gill?
Yeah, of course I do.
He had just signed with Real Salt Lake that year. He turned down Arsenal.
Lewis Gill and I stay in contact. Jared Jeffrey?
Mm-hmm.
Brina Perk?
I don't know who that is. Maybe that's supposed to be like Brian Perk, maybe?
Probably. Tyler Pollock?
Man, I haven't heard of Tyler Pollock in a long time.
I haven't heard of him at all.
Oh, he was on the that U17 team that did pretty okay. Not the Josie Altidore year, I don't think, but
Okay, keep it up.
It's 2010.
Gail.
We got the boss.
The boss. That was failure. Zach McMath. He had a good career in MLS, still is. Alessandro Mion? Never heard of him. Dylan Powers? Failure. Andrew Sounders? No, that's just who he was with the U team. Question mark. Next. Breck Shea. Mark Pelosi, injured all the time. Perry Kitchen. Juan Agudelo. Callan Acosta. Okay, some moments
we've found the void of talent.
It's amazingly how bad this is. Danny Williams, makes sense. He had some good.
He's 23. Does that count as young?
No.
I think that's kind of like throwing Danny a bone at that point, man.
Big bone. It must have been a bad season. Shaquille Moore. Joe Corona. Okay, giving Joe some credit. Joe's still playing in the fucking Mexican League. Terrence Boyd. Some potential, but okay. Didn't work out. Rubio Rubin. He was at Real Salt Lake. I don't know where he is now, but didn't work out. Will Trapp. Didn't work out. Eric Palmer Brown. That's going to start sounding like a soon with his injuries. Shaquille Moore again. Kellen Acosta again. I mean, like I said, he contributed. Shane O'Neill.
Okay, we're going to go down and across now.
All right. How'd you write? Good pick. Pulisic. Good pick. Emerson Hyman. McWelly Akali. DeAndre Yellen had some good season with
we've started finding the hump back up now.
Yep.
This is where the talent starts coming back into fruition.
Zalalem because of injuries. Pulisic. Heidman. Miazga.
So Matt at 20 over Pulisic at 17. Pulisic was just at as that Dortmund. He may have just been starting his first year as not a starter, but at least bit minutes. And I think it was 2015. He may have. Did he crack the U.S. men's national team in 15 or was it 16?
16.
Okay. So
we're talking about Pulisic, right?
Yeah.
16. CCV still at Tottenham. Yeah, okay, fine. +6 Sergeant Jordan Morris. Andrew Carlton. What a major. No, sir. You have failed here.
Yeah.
I mean, he played
for he was
in
Indy. He was in Indy for a season.
Yep. Not good.
I was watching him go like, oh, how the mighty have fallen, man. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of those players where the hype may have been overhyped at the time, but I mean, this is the problem with youth tournaments as a whole. But the hype got to him.
Well, the problem was his head.
Yeah.
His head was too full of dreams he couldn't accomplish without major commitment, which he never made. Eric Palmer Brown, injuries. So, Jonathan Gonzalez.
Mexican now.
Who knows?
National team.
Yep.
No, he's the big. What are you talking about? Let's talk about it. No.
I mean, that isn't. Yeah, he failed.
Yeah.
All around. Luca De La Torre still around. Timothy Weah still around. Josh Sargent still around. Tyler Freeman?
Yeah, I looked at that one too.
Gio Reyna, Mark McKenzie, Ulysses Lanez. Yuli Lanez. Alex Mendez.
All right, final batch of years.
Chris Richards, Gio Reyna, Paxton Palmacall. Injuries. Ricardo Pepe, Serginho Dest, Busio. Okay. Still possible for all them.
I think at this point now, I think the names are recognize that they're also there's going to be less. Like, really? We picked him?
Yeah. These are all good. Good to go. Still contending. Ferreira, I'm not going to buzz him, but no. George Bello. That's a. He
was just on his way out to
Germany.
Germany. Bochum?
And now he's at Lask in Austria.
Not in the last place.
Yeah, that's true. They're not. But I'm not going to give Bello the buzzer, but I am going to say no chance he ever makes it back in the U.S. men's national team picture.
Well, I mean, Larry is a big Bello fan.
Larry only likes the size of Bello's cock. Has really nothing to do with how he plays. He just likes George's 8-footer or 8-inch.
8-footer. Good Lord, it's bigger than him.
If he couldn't play with an 8-footer.
Wrap it around your leg.
Yeah, you tie it around it.
Part of his defense is he has the ball and he's just swinging it around.
You'd have to tie it around his waist. Just tie that shit around your waist. All right.
Judgmental Deity says you also said that about Busio. Derek, prepared to take Crow.
I am prepared to take Crow on that. Yeah. I am. But can we just get past the fact that that's really just one good game for Busio so far this season with Venezia? And I am totally open. I am open like a whore on a hot Saturday night to take more abuse on that if it turns out that I'm wrong. I'll spread those cheeks and take it. So
I think he looked good on in the Olympic squad.
Oh God, sorry.
He had a pretty decent season in Syria B.
Okay, no.
So no, guys, we're always happy to eat crow. We're always happy to say if we're wrong.
Yes.
Because if we're wrong, that means somebody's doing something right. So,
yes. So Busio kicks ass all season for Venezia, and he gets called up regularly for the U.S. men's national team, which is the only thing I said about him. I don't think he's going to be a regular. This is all I said about him. He's not going to be a regular U.S. men's national team call-up guy. He's not going to contribute much going forward. That is what I said. And I said, I don't think he's going to be a regular guy for the U.S. men's national team.
Let's also add context to that as a whole. This is coming off his time at Sporting where he was moved from midfield to striker to wing to midfield. He didn't have a spot hammered down. And then he moved to Venezia where he was starting in Serie A. And then he, about halfway through the season, lost all of his minutes. And by the end of the season, he was on the bench. Then they went to Serie B, where he really didn't play much that first season.
Right.
So at that point, I mean, it's safe to assume that if you're failing in Serie B, that most likely it's not in the cards for everybody. But he grinded it out, and maybe he's gonna have a resurgence.
So Johnny, you can say, or Larry, that Busio's a C- or C+ compared to Tannerman, who's D-. But guess what?
I think he means Tessman.
Tessman. He does mean Tessman.
Tanner Tessman. Tannerman, I like that.
He said that before.
Okay, good. He's sticking with the nice.
Leon didn't come after Busio. They came after Tessman. So we'll see how that works out for Tessman. But not a lot of people were. I mean, we saw all the people going after Tessman to sign him. We didn't see a whole lot of that for Busio. So let's see how he does this season. I think he looked great in the 2 games I've watched so far. And we'll see what happens. Josh Winder, too early to tell. Chris Brady, too early to tell. Diego Cochin, too early to tell. All these guys, Yunus Musa, too early to tell, like, how big of an impact he can have, how much he can grow. Paxton Aronson, weird shit going on right now at Utrecht with him, so we'll see what happens.
This is the most recent one, yeah.
Nimfasha Barashi.
Berchimus.
Berchimus.
He's the Charlotte kid, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think he is, yeah.
I thought he was Dallas, but I may be wrong.
No.
All right.
What about Kramashi?
Right.
It's too early to go. I know.
It's just I don't see enough yet. When he's 20 and he's still where he is now, then I'll worry that okay, that's the end of that. And all these guys have potential, so I'm not gonna shit on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Any of them. So I haven't seen. I think I've watched one Charlotte game all season. One, and I don't remember Berchimus. I don't.
I mean, he's 15 going on 16. He probably doesn't play a whole hell of a lot. I believe he plays for their 2 team right now.
I think he's with the 2 team because I don't remember ever seeing him for the Charlotte team so far this season. Because I would probably pay attention to that But to be fair, when I watch MLS games, I'm often doing other things around the house as the game is playing. All right, we got to move on. We got to get the show going because I can't be doing this much longer. Watch night, huh?
So you can and you will.
I got to go pee soon. Watch 19-year-old Santiago Castaneda and 4th place Paderborn take on 5th place Hamburger on ESPN Plus 7 a.m. on Saturday. I would agree with this because let's just be really fair. Nobody knows who Santiago Castaneda is. He's come up on our show multiple times. I've talked about him multiple times. He's a starter for Paderborn, and they're doing really well, and he's doing really well as a 19-year-old kid starting for a team competing to get promoted, and they're playing really well, and he's been really good. So I think that's something for sure we need to keep our eyeballs on.
He does wear a diaper for the show. He has to go change his diaper.
I don't wear diapers anymore. I only did that after my major surgery, and I did that for like a month or whatever it was. I had to wear grown-up diapers.
All right, Derek, go.
All right, I'm going to go pee. I'll be right back.
Be gone.
Be gone.
All right, let's see. We're moving down the list here. We're going to talk about that. I'll keep that list open for Derek when he gets back. I came across this news, guys. Weah injured himself during training. He's going to miss a Genoa game. So that sucks. Hopefully it's nothing serious, and hopefully he'll come right back and bounce back. But man, kid can't catch a break, especially with Poach coming up with his roster probably here relatively soon. I mean, he gets on that injury list again. He might not even make this window. Broken's asking, will he miss next month's games? I don't know. That's a big question. Like I said, I think. Like I said, Poach is probably going to start patching out his list soon. So I mean, he's set to miss the Genoa game. So I don't know if that means it's just a little knock. He's just going to miss it because it's only a couple days away, which is probably what it is. But yeah. Here, Derek coming back.
I'm back. All right.
Derek, Weah is injured. He's going to miss this weekend's game.
Oh, for Christ's sake. That sucks. All right. Well,
it's unfortunate timing, really.
I do. I think I like the fact that the coach and the manager has decided to give him a shot at center forward. I think that's like the belief that the manager has in Weah right now is really cool. So let's hope he gets healthy and he gets more chances. So
10 teenage American players keep an eye on this season.
This is pretty cool. Coaching, we've talked about. Yeah. Pedro Soma, also Barcelona. Yeah, keep an eye on him. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Figueroa. Figueroa did play recently.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I forgot to pull it back up. I forgot Was he starting for their the
U21s?
21s? Yeah.
He went 64 minutes in their loss. They got their ass beat, actually, in that game. So
no bueno. Marcos Zambrano.
I don't know much about this player. I'm gonna have to
Striker,
look.
2005 in Ecuador. So is Ecuadorian American. Plays for Portuguese side. Vitoria.
Yeah, Guimaraes. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. Ethan Kohler, I actually mentioned earlier in the show. Born in 2005, defender. Yep, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on him. Landon Emenalo. Defensive midfielder, Chelsea player, left-footed. Yeah, okay. These are all good so far because they're on good clubs, obviously.
Do you want me to bookmark this if you want to start following them in your massive list?
I don't really have a massive list anymore.
Hey, it's that Mathis Alberg kid.
Matisse Albert, Brett.
Mathis Albert.
Currently playing for Borussia Dortmund's U17, scored 5 goals in 8 games. We'll see. Listen, we're not forgetting about these guys. We're just not. That's why we're bringing them up on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Mize. We stay in the same city. It's another Borussia Dortmund U17 player. He's left-footed. Can play as a 10. Okay. All right. I didn't know about that kid.
I graduated college before that kid was even born.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, we'll see. U7, that's really young. Got a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Banks, we all know about.
Yep.
Hawaiian center back, born in 2006 for Augsburg. Tall, fast, blah, blah, blah. You know, this might be a guy who might sneak up because we're so weak at center back. If he, in the next 2 seasons, is just playing great for Augsburg.
I mean, he's getting involved in first team training sessions. He'd have to be involved in first team play.
Big yes,
to be considered at that point. But yeah.
But I mean, we saw this with Arnie Chase this season, right? Right?
Yeah.
He was on their youth teams, and now he's a starter. It has been a starter for Stuttgart. So is it possible that somebody like that makes that bump? It's possible.
Sure. I mean, we're talking, well, the difference between Frankfurt and Augsburg, of course, but I mean, like half a table probably. I don't know where Augsburg's at right now, but
Kevin Sullivan. Okay. Yeah, that's a no. Or we better get to this fucking thing with Tap Ramos.
Derek, we'll get that in just a second. Got to cover one more thing.
Oh, fucking A.
Well, you sent this to me, so.
Oh, no. Somebody else sent this to me.
No, but you sent it to me.
I did send it to you, but they sent it to me.
Sure.
You said Gavin Beavers. I can't help but think that Buc-ee's has to sponsor him. But
we've talked about Beavers. Is this the same Beavers kid we've talked about?
Yep. Okay. Gavin Beavers.
That I don't know why that came out. Like when you said Gavin Beavers, I'm like,
that's what came to your head when you heard.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came out. I was like, how is Buc-ee's not sponsoring this?
I think
guy?
The Straight Red would go somewhere else in their head for sure.
Of course,
they would.
We did. We did.
Absolutely did. Yeah.
But so the goalkeepers I have are the same: Schulte, Matt Turner.
Somebody sent me that, so I'm like, yeah, your Gavin Beavers thing got mentioned. Although they hadn't realized we'd already joked about Gavin Beavers, so we have.
There's no name out there we haven't covered yet.
Yes. So for the 230 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with Grandma. We're getting to the main topic, which is Tap Ramos's interview.
Okay.
Holy shit, dude!
Buckle up, guys.
We got to skip through this fast.
We've got a couple of stopping points.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but we'll see.
We can skip the ones I wanted to cover initially, and we'll go right down to
740 is really.
Yeah, let's start there at 740. Talking about where he talks about the mentality.
Yep.
I think it's not about technique. It's not about athletic ability. It's not about how fast or strong our guys are. I think it's a question of mentality. I think we're not hard enough to go for the wins.
As we mentioned in the title of this, the U.S. men's national team players are not hard enough for Tab Ramos.
Yes, they need to have Viagra. They need to be fully erect while playing. Yeah, I mean, like this is I think a commentary that is now becoming commonplace. Everybody seems to be saying it. This team is soft. It's not. He said they're not hard enough. So is he saying they're semi-hard or semi-flaccid or flaccid / getting hard? He just said they're not hard enough.
I don't know if it's going to come up later on or if it's something they already covered earlier. But he talks about the mentality of growing up in the everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets an award world that we live in.
That's at 8:20. Let's move to that.
8:20? Oh yeah, you did tell me 8:20. Yeah, I went right to the next one. Okay.
So when we created our style of play for the youth national teams, one of the things that we went back to is to say, okay, who are we as people in this country, right? So we took, okay, well, wait, we put a man on the moon, we win in the Olympics, we get all the gold medals of everything. So I saw that. So, and why is it that in soccer we just kind of get there and we fold? And partly more during our time, it was because we probably just weren't good enough. But I've seen in the last 10 years that we're good enough. So how do we get to compete and win the games? Sometimes you're just going to win games you're not supposed to win.
And what he says is, but we don't win those games anymore. The games we're not supposed to win. And he's right. We don't. We used to, but we don't anymore. We used to occasionally have upset wins. We really don't have those anymore.
In fairness, in the defense for this national team, in that sense, is we don't the upsets that he's talking about, like when we played the Germanys, the Brazils, etc., and stuff like that. We didn't have a whole hell of a lot of those, and we've talked about the scheduling conflicts with Nations League and stuff like that. So it's not like because I went back one time arguing with the guy about this, and you go back and you count how many non-CONCACAF teams did Greg play compared to Klinsman, compared to Bradley, etc. And we were talking about like a difference of like 12 to 15.
Yes.
I mean, as far as the number of non-CONCACAF teams that those coaches faced in comparison. So, yeah, the mentality is going to get kind of soft when you start when you're facing a lot of CONCACAF minnows, and then your rivals within the federation for 90% of your tenure. So,
and that's not Greg's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Greg has lots of faults, but the fact that he couldn't actually get friendlies with top teams during the breaks is because of Nations League around the world. So, in qualifying. So, that's not all his fault. We got to be really fair about that. It's not like U.S. Soccer just pussied out. No, this is something that fucking pussy fart Infantino decided to thrust his hips into the rest of the world and say, you're going to take this shit. We're doing Nations League. And by the way, friendlies? Nah, not going to be many of those anymore. Not ones that are good because, by the way, all the good European teams are involved with Nations League during the window, so you're not going to get a Germany or a fucking, just name it. France, Spain,
the Netherlands are sitting there going like, why would I face Jamaica? Why would I face Panama when I could face England or Italy or Germany?
Well, they don't even have a choice. They're a Nations League. I know. I'm
just saying, to their point, though, I'm sure Europe is happy as a pig in shit with Nations League, quite frankly.
Mm-mm.
You don't think so?
I think UEFA's happy with making the money. But, I think that a lot of teams, well, you're probably right. Maybe they're fine with playing England playing France and France playing England. That's probably good for them. But it's not good for us.
No.
Because
I agree, yes.
They're busy playing Nations League, and we can't play them because they're playing Nations League. So it's a FIFA opening window. We have no major tournament, but we can't sign up a fucking real team to play against.
Well, I will say the one negative for Nations League with your that Europe or UEFA would face is that you're not getting those teams are no longer getting a variety of. I mean, there's a variety within UEFA. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's the difference. I mean, you're playing you don't get to play like a Japan or an Ivory Coast or United States or Canada or Mexico or Brazil. There's just you're kind of isolating yourself to your region.
The Nations League was the dumbest idea ever invented. It was the dumbest idea ever invented by a mind of somebody whose last name is Infantino, which means small child, small male child. Yeah.
Would you think
where they came from?
Would you think it'd be I mean, South America doesn't do Nations League, do they?
I don't think so. No.
I'd say we merge.
No, but they're doing World Cup qualifying usually in those windows.
It's true. They do have a lot in there. Yeah, there's a lot of games that they play. Yeah, I was gonna say, it'd be much better if CONCACAF and CONMEBOL could merge into the Nations League together. I mean, you're only talking about games anyways. You're only talking about a couple games anyways, but
right. But as BMR says, I don't think there's much of an incentive for UEFA to do that. I mean, they're making big bucks for that Nations League shit, and yeah, they're happy with it. So I don't think we're going to see any changes, and we're going to end up. I think they thought this whole Nations League thing would be great. Oh, we're going to build up the small teams. No, what you're doing is fucking the teams who are on the verge of making the next step, because they can't play really good teams and friendlies anymore during the windows when they used to be able to do so. And so Klinsmann could go out over to Europe for 2 weeks and play a bunch of different European teams. Well, you can't do it anymore because they're playing Nations League now. And you're not allowed. And it's not something that's happening. It's bullshit. It's a fucking poorly thought out idea, Nations League. Period. End of story.
As BMR mentions, CONMEBOL needs 18 match days for World Cup qualifying. So that's roughly speaking, 9 windows.
Yep.
So
we'll end up playing
little to no time.
We'll end up playing island nations and fuckers who don't matter. Yep. Mexico again and again and again. I don't know how many more times we need to do that, but we're going to do it. Yeah. Sad shit.
All right. So Tab, who looks like he sat on a firecracker, is going to talk about how coaching mentality, not the coach's mentality, but coaching mentality.
All right.
Well, no, it definitely comes from the coaches, but it doesn't necessarily come from one coach, that the coach that has you at the end. So now we can look, okay, you go to the national team and we see we don't have the mentality, but we could see it all along through the development academy when you go and watch games. And it's, if you watch a development academy game 5 years ago, let's say, and I'm sure you guys have seen them, right? And you go to the field and the game ends and you watch the players walk off the field. You can't tell who won and who lost the game.
So this is the time actually, because they talk. Clint and Charlie chimes in and they talk about how it's just that mentality of it's like everybody wins. It's about development. It's about the development of the player. We don't really care about the results in the end. And then they talk about there's some truth to that, quite frankly, because we've had a history of focusing solely on winning, and when you focus solely on winning, you ignore the actual development of certain players because you're forcing, this kid's super fast, so I'm going to throw him up top, even though there may be better options as far as players technically are concerned. And then what happens is you grow up, and those fast strikers are not very talented. And then also we have this gap, with this massive gap. So Tab does talk about how, when he was coaching, from U8 all the way up to the youth national teams, how you go into the coaching aspect, you go into the coaching of it, where you let them make mistakes, but your overall goal for that match is to win still.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine balance. I mean, the idea that you still want to win, of course, I think is what you want to have in your mind. But yeah, it's all the other things have to be mixed into. So yeah. I heard a balance here about letting players make mistakes and letting them try stuff, but at the same time, you want to come out and win. And in the current culture, unfortunately, as he says, it's weird because I've heard other players, like Winaldo, say the opposite, which is, all the coaches care about is winning. So I'm not sure what to believe anymore.
I think, everybody has their concept of how development should occur. Like you brought up the old Tony Meola interview we had, and he had talked about how it's a shame that soccer now is forcing these kids to pick soccer or their other sports. Whereas when he was coaching in New York, New Jersey area, he was like, he always wanted his kids to go out and play basketball in the summer, play baseball in the spring, and then come back, because then you have a more well-rounded athleticism and understanding of the game, and trying to think of the word, basically not agility by any means, but composure, I guess, and center of gravity, if you will, something like that, some along those lines. But
I was really talking more about the whole idea that we've heard some people criticize development for it all being about winning. And then we have Ramos here saying, yeah, there's not enough focus on winning. So I'm a little confused, honestly. And you would know better.
Sure, and that was my point, though, is that everybody has an idea of what development should be, and everybody's ideas are going to be different.
I think what he might be saying is, let them go out and play and make mistakes and all that other shit, but in the end, you still want to win. And I think what I hear from Tact is, no, just let them go out and have fun. And then when I listen to Winaldo, I'm like, well, he's saying there's too much of focus on winning, and not the play. I might be getting that wrong.
I think, quite frankly, I think they all kind of say the same thing, but just in a different way.
Yeah. Okay.
The focus on winning aspect is what I was talking about, where like you see teams that are inefficient in defense because they just throw all their speedy players and everything up top, and then just try to boot the ball forward and run. You're not necessarily working on developing out of the back and working how to pass around. Counterattack's fine. The quick transition's good, but you need to be able to do the X, Y, and Z as well. And you're just focused on hoof run. That's been the plague of our past, at least, of youth development.
I would only say that if you have really talented, speedy players, why not hoof and run?
Here's why. Because if that's how you're playing,
if it works,
if that's how you're playing at the youth level, that's fine. Most likely, you're going to run up the score 7-8-0 at the youth levels. But then, as they get older, they phase out because everybody else becomes athletically as gifted. So if you're just going to hoof and run, that might work at the U10, U11, U12. But when you get to U14, U16, U18, and in the high school level, they're all going to be just as athletic,
Okay. Well, here's all I'd say with that.
Sure.
There was a time in the 80s, 90s, there was a lot more hoof and run. And it worked. And it's been totally abandoned completely now in the game. And it's to the point where I watched Timothy Weah for Juventus play as a center forward and make at least 15 runs. Nobody hoofed it to him. No one. Nobody. And he made some good runs. I watched it and went back and rewatched the video, the Juventus video. And I thought, wow, we've really come a long way in the negative. Because here's a guy working his balls off as a center forward, on making runs for the midfielders and even the center backs, left backs, right backs to make that pass, no one would do it. And he basically made 15 runs and nobody even contemplated passing him the ball. So I watched when he came in the half there, and the coach talked to him about, here, I want you to make these runs, blah, blah. And he made them all. He did the work. Not a single time did anybody lift their head and pass it to him because he's fast as fuck. And by the way, he's faster than those center backs, and he's faster than the left back and the right back of the opposing team last weekend. Never got a single pass. Nobody ever hoofed it to him. So I think what I'm saying is there's a fine middle ground. And we've come so far to the tiki-taka shit that nobody even lifts their head to look for a fucking center forward making a run between a center back and the left back into open space. And I think we've lost that part of the game in general in soccer.
I'll say, well, using Juve as an example, Juve's never been really a hoof and run team. I mean, there may be some direct plays occasionally, but they're absolutely played out. I'm just saying.
I don't disagree with you, but there was a reason that Weah was brought on.
Sure, and that might be something that Moda's going to have to break them over. Like, they're gonna have to break the mold in that front. Maybe that's going to be the case. Maybe, hey, we're going to be playing more direct, guys. Let's play more direct. We're going to play faster, move the ball up in the transitions and the counters. But
did you watch that game, by the way?
No, I never did.
Yeah, go back and watch that. Just watch the part where Weah. Second half where Weah comes on.
So,
dude made like multiple run after run after run. Like I was focused on it because, I'm watching Weah, but nobody ever passed him the ball.
So, and I'll jumping back to the U.S. development as a whole. I don't think the direct play should ever have left the play. We have decades of playing counter ball on the national team level and being relatively successful at it. Playing quick off the transition, counter ball, playing direct. I'm not saying we need to abandon that. And quite frankly, I talked about how when Klinsmann came in to the fold, like we need to find our identity. I'm like, we have an identity. We're not going to recreate the wheel. Just play with what we have. This is who we are. But we weren't 100% just hoof the ball forward. We did move the ball forward up the pitch as well. So it's a bit different from what I'm referring to when it's youth development, and you're just the ball goes back to the defense instead of trying to control it and looking for an option before hoofing the ball. Defenders just boot the ball. Half the time it goes straight out of bounds. Other times it just goes back up to the defense. The other team collects.
I mean, you got to have the players to make that pass. I agree. And I think Juventus has it, and they just didn't do it.
Again, that's a mentality. That's a mentality on that. That's something that they're going to have to break. A lot of those players have played there for a number of years, and it's been a very specific style of ball forever. So, it's something he's got to break the mold on that front.
Absolutely, because you could see when he was brought in at halftime, him talking with the coach about making this run or that run, and he got to play center forward. Nobody got him the ball. So, anyhow, all right. I don't know if you want to skip forward, but I mean, night's getting old.
Let's see here.
We
both had 12:53.
Never wanted to be a coach. I'll be honest. Never wanted to be a coach. When I was a player, I have no idea what the coaches told me. I never really listened to the coach. I was kind of like, who do I have to get when they attack? Is that my guy? I'll get my guy. But then I was waiting I wanted to do enough defending so that I could get away with being on the field. Right. And then if I'm on the field, then the rest is, and I know you were a lot like that too. Like you don't know what you're doing next. No one can tell you. Like there's not a coach that can tell you. So I think what's important is to give, to sort of give, to give that freedom. But at the same time, when I started to coach, since I didn't know that's what I wanted to do, I took a couple courses. So going back to your question, so I started coaching.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Drone on there, yeah.
He had me until he said I took a couple courses. I'm not a big fan of these courses. I don't know if you've watched some of these courses. They're available on YouTube. There's some course, and I just don't think they're really that helpful if you really want to understand how soccer works. And I fully believe that he understands how soccer works. And that's good that he's boosting the courses, and he does it later in the interview. Yeah, these guys are getting their A, B's, and C's and D course stuff. Whatever. Fuck that shit. For me, all that's just bureaucratic bullshit. You're either a good coach or you're not. And I don't care how many courses you take. And a lot of the courses are dogma, by the way. They are. And I just don't see, outside of the money that USSF makes from putting these courses out, that people have to pay a lot of money to get their A license, B license. I really don't know how much they're benefiting. In fact, I think the opposite is true. They're killing creativity. They're killing the vibrant mind in some cases, and saying, no, this is how you got to play here, or this is kind of like how you got to do it. No, I think that, I'd rather see somebody completely have a completely different view, outside of the norm, outside of the dogma that is taught in coaching classes, in licensing. I just want to see somebody come out with something different. And really, your ability to move forward in coaching shouldn't really have much to do with your licensing. It should have to do with your success from level going up to the next level, going up to the next level. I really think this whole coaching licensing thing is a total farce. And I think it is in Europe, and I think it is everywhere. I think you can look at a lot of ex-players who might not be great coaches, but then you can find a few that are. But then they got to go jumping through hoops in order to get their fucking coaching license. It's fucking ridiculous. That's up to the fucking teams and the owners about who should coach their teams. Honestly, that's all it should be. The rest of it is a money laundering scheme. Period. End of story. Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to make the comment when you're talking about the licenses and stuff. I was going to make the comment how just because you go and get a license doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. And we've seen that with the number of...
No, you could be a complete idiot.
Yeah.
Idiot.
So you may have had the money, you may have done the courses and stuff like that, but going out there and implementing it is completely different. Knowing the game, but especially at the youth level, knowing how to translate it in a way that these kids can grasp it is what you need. Is what you need to know. You need to be able to talk to these kids. Quite frankly, now of course, when they're teens and stuff like that, they have a better understanding. But I mean, at the U6, U8, U10 level, I mean, most of these kids don't know what a touchline is, what the inline is, what is I experience this on my team right now. We get scored on, and then I have to sit there and yell, "Ball to the halfway line," So I mean, it's a way of understanding. It's a way of being able to communicate with them so they know what they're doing, because at that stage in our culture, they really don't.
What makes a good coach is the fact that Mikey Varas is a Berhalter minion. Make him a good coach, that he's passed his A license, that he's got an A license. No. I would predict he's going to be a horrible coach for San Diego. I hate to say that, but I think it's going to be true. I think he's going to be out of a job within a year. But coaching it's not all about X's and O's and all that shit through the, oh my God. Like if you watch the videos for the B license, you're like, is this for idiots? Is this for people who are completely absolutely void of any concept of what soccer is. Because if you've been watching and playing soccer as a youngster, as we did, and watching soccer as long, we should just automatically be granted an A fucking license. Actually, there should be no A licenses. They should be up to the freaking owners of the team who they want to hire. And if that is, pick a player who doesn't have any license at all that you believe would be a great leader. Clint Dempsey. You're like, you know what? Clint doesn't have any licenses. I think he has a C or a D because I think he coaches youth. Fuck that. I want to hire him as my coach. Go do it because I believe in him as a person. You cannot underestimate how important that is, the character part. Now, he may not know all his X's and O's, but please, he's played for Fulham. He played in World Cups. He knows his X's and O's. And if he doesn't, he's going to figure it out. He's played the game. The whole licensing thing is a scam. It's a scam. You should only win promotion to better jobs by performance. Period. The whole license thing, scam. Scam with a capital SCAM. Period. That's all I'm saying.
Speaking of scams, let's listen to what he has to say about pay to play.
Well, we were starting.
Yeah, so first, to get it out of the way, pay to play can't ever go away. Coaches have to get paid. Somebody has to pay them, right? So that won't go away. Now,
all right, you can stop it there.
So, I mean, this is also the same talking point that Lawless makes too. Is like, because people are like, well, we need to go to, the free academies like they do in X, Y, and Z. But the problem is somebody pays somebody somewhere,
Yeah.
Whether you have sponsors, whether you have donors, whether you have just wealthy billionaires that are fronting the team because, they can make the transfers and make some money back, whatever, on the back end of youth development. Yeah, so pay to play is not going to go anywhere. It's just how they can shift it in the future, off the parents and onto whatever,
The only way to shift it is to make money from developing players, getting paid for their advancement into the professional realm.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's as simple as that. And if we can do that, like they do in Europe, then we're good to go. And so that might be a slow transition, and we've talked about possible solutions and how that slow transition would look and evolution would look. I'm not going to go over it again tonight, but I don't think that's like never possible where you can transition into that. If you're developing enough players to get paid in the professional realm as a youth club, then you can be self-sustaining. They do it in Europe, but it's going to take us a while to get there. So,
yeah.
All right.
This is the standard of play according to that.
Okay.
And when your general direction is, okay, we have to play out of the back no matter what. We have to play 4-3-3 no matter what. We have to. So you're very limited to. That's why I always wanted on the youth national teams. I wanted former players because I wanted former players to just have a structure to love because I know they love the game. I wanted to make sure that they love teaching the game, but then I didn't want to tell them what to do. I wanted their experiences to help them teach the kids because just like I used to put the names on the wall or I used to do a little circle.
This is close to his heart. Even though Cap agrees with the 4-3-3 and the high press. He was told by U.S. Soccer he had to play Berhalter's 4-3-3, and that's what pissed him off.
Which, oddly enough, originally was a high press,
but wasn't later on.
Yeah, he changed, of course. Yeah.
So, but he's right. Like dogma, I don't care if you talk about politics or whatever you want to talk about. Dogma is bad. And it's bad in soccer. You cannot dogma your national team, youth teams, and say, this is the only way we play. This is the only formation we play. And And I do think, unfortunately, Tab's bought into some of that to some extent because he goes on later and says, "Oh yeah, I played the 4-3-3 high press because that suits Americans." Oh, okay, that's fine, but that's not what suited Americans back when you played, and that's not what suited Americans, just after you played. So I'm not sure I'm really understanding what you're saying here. All right.
Because the national team is different, so the national team is not but this is my opinion, it's not a project. The national team is go and pick the best players today that we have and go win this game. I feel like it's more that than it's, okay, let me just pick a bunch of guys who are coming along and let's do, in 6 years, we're going to be good. I mean, if somebody tells me
it's not like club ball where day in and day out you get to work on.
But somebody tells me 6 years.
Here's the weird thing, Brett. Did we not pick the best team for the 2026 or 2022 World Cup? I thought we did for the most part.
For the most part.
Okay, yeah, were there some MLS guys on there? I'm like, they didn't play much. When they did, they were poor. I'm not sure that. Listen, I get the idea that yes, Berhalter and the media were like, well, this is a really young team, so excuse, young, excuse. I get that, but I don't know what he's talking about here because I thought we picked the best team generally.
Every window up until Greg's rehire, actually, every window we were sitting there going, "Why is this guy here? Why isn't this guy here?" And Greg has favorites, and he had a roster that he was constantly calling in, constantly playing, regardless of how they're playing at club level and how they play at the national team level, actually.
But then he ended up picking Green, and then he didn't
by force.
He didn't pick Brooks, but it's not like the roster we ended up with was just a bunch of fucking young.
Well, they were young.
I mean, they were young, but I get it. It's just not. Those were the best: McKennie, Adams, Reyna, Pulisic. I just don't think Haji Wright was there. Just trying to think of who else should have been there that wasn't there.
I don't know.
Older players he's talking about, or the players he's saying were missing. Who was fucking missing? That's what I want to know. Who's missing on that? I mean, I know there were 1 or 2 people we could mention, but he's making it sound like there were 8 guys missing on that team. We just took all these young guys and we just said, fuck it. We're not going to. No, he keeps saying, take the best players. Who did we leave off? Who were the fucking superstars that got left off that team?
Well, this begs a question we've been asking, quite frankly, for a while, because he does mention players who aren't playing well at their club, and you would look at that and be like, well, using an example of recent windows, Gio hasn't really been playing for his club. Okay, well then you start talking okay, well who's coming in over Gio at that point? Well, we already have Tillman in. Well, we're looking for more of an offensive-minded player. Are we going to bring in
Tillman was nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about recently. I'm not talking about 2022.
I get it, but I want to stay in context, right? With what he's saying about the 2022 World Cup, who got left out? That's my fucking question, Brett. He keeps saying we didn't bring the best players. We just brought this young club. We made excuses about it and said, well, they're young and they're going to fail.
So you watched this twice through. And you're bringing up at a point that's going to be brought up later on in this interview. That's why I'm confused, because he didn't mention anything about the U.S. World Cup. He just says it's not a project. You bring in the best players at the time and you put them in positions to succeed. And then he goes into talking about, with it not being a project, we didn't get to it yet because he's going to say it right now. You don't tell people it's 6 years from now we're going to be really good, because the fans are going to be like, why am I going to games now? I'll just go to games in 6 years.
No, he's right.
He doesn't bring up the shit. What the fuck we were just talking about? About the players. What were you going on ramble about there? Jesus.
I don't know. I was just saying we did bring
basically
the best players.
You brought up a point that he brings up later, and then that's why I was getting confused there. But that's fine.
We did mostly bring the best players that we had. I don't know who he wanted to include that was older that we left off.
Oh, yeah. The excuse is, well, the team's young. It's a young team, and that's coming up here at 25-16, which is going to be would be the next segment after this.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I mean, we kind of just talked about that.
Go for it.
All right. 25-16
to 22. So we say, okay, it's a young team. But if I'm a fan, I don't care that it's a young team.
Yeah.
I want to win games.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me the excuse that we're not good enough because we're young.
No matter what the age.
That's not good enough. Yeah, okay, bring a couple of young guys so they get the experience.
Okay,
but
stop it there.
Yes,
what do you mean bring a couple young guys? If you bring Pulisic, Adams, and McKennie, who you're gonna leave off Dest? Who the fuck you gonna leave off? Bring a few young guys? No, we had to bring all young guys, dumbass, because that's all we had. What are you not realizing? That we had a massive generational gap. Who are you going to bring? Dempsey retired, dumb fuck. I don't know who he thinks we're going to bring on this team. We brought Jordan Morris, who's in his mid-20s. Listen, I love Ramos, but this fucking argument pissed me the fuck off, dude.
You beat me to it because, yes, we brought Morris. We brought Yedlin.
We brought a bunch of middle-aged fuckers.
And we obviously had Ream. Which Dempsey is backing this point up. He goes, yeah, and one of the best players on the pitch was Ream. I'm like, that's true. But again, to your point, Derek, who are all these middle ranged old fucks that would be making the team better? Who are they?
Who were these guys that were going to make the team so much better? Like, what the fuck were you watching, Tap Ramos? I'm sorry, but this makes no fucking sense at all. You're telling me we brought all these young guys, but we should have brought other guys? What other guys? Name them. Name them. I'd like to hear their fucking names. Because we brought the Zimmermans. We brought the Longs. Who the fuck are we missing, motherfucker? This pissed me off, Brett. This part of the interview pissed me off.
We didn't take Paul Areola.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Fuck that in the asshole. No, not helping. I know he's joking, but still.
Yeah. And you know what? We left Pepe off, and we brought a much older Ferreira.
Yeah, that didn't help.
Oh my goodness.
I thought this interview would be more clarifying, but what it made me feel like was like, is this guy paying the fucking any attention whatsoever? Who were all the 28-year-olds that we could have brought on this team that should have been on this team? I couldn't think of them. I couldn't think of any of them.
Yeah, and I will agree with their point that the youngest team in the world, the second youngest team in the World Cup or whatever, was a built-in excuse ready to be thrown out whenever something goes wrong. I agree with that. But to that point, it's not.
What were the options?
Because exactly. We had no other options. These were, for the most part, minus a couple players, Stefan, minus Pepe. These were the top of our team. Now, mind you could argue and say, well, we were mismanaged through the World Cup, although I think Berhalter did an okay job in some aspects, but still, you could say we had our best team out there.
I say if I were in this interview, I were on the couch, I would have said, okay, hold on. Okay. So, yeah, we made the excuse that they were young. Got it. Agree. Totally agree, Tab. But who are all these mid-20-year-olds and older players that should have been on the team that you are talking about, because they don't exist, you fucker. They don't exist. I wouldn't call them a fucker. But
we could have upped the age by bringing PFOC.
I guess. Brooks.
Yeah, there we go. We could have brought it up there too.
But, you know, if he would have been more specific and said, I would have brought Brooks, I would have brought PFOC. But he doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So now he's just talking in generalities. We have no idea what he's talking about, but we do think he's more of a moron now than we did when the fucking interview started, which is sad because I love Tab Ramos. But I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is he talking about? We did bring the best players we had. We didn't just bring them so we could make the excuse that they were young. They were young. And yeah, we did make the excuse that they were young. But come on, man. Mm-hmm. Give me a fucking break. Make some fucking sense. You're on the couch. You're a person people respect and respect a fucking decent argument or conversation. And you say just weird shit that makes no fucking sense. Have you not thought about this at all? Like, who else you bring into the World Cup, Tab Ramos? That's going to make a difference. I would love to know. And if I were on that couch, I would have said, okay, so you didn't think we didn't bring the best players. Who would you brought? That's what I would have fucking asked. Davies. That's what I would have asked. But no one asked it.
So I will say, up until this point, I've been fine with the interview. and moving past this point, I'm fine with the interview. I thought this was the one stickling point. I go, what the fuck just happened? What are we even talking about, guys?
Yeah.
But I thought everything else was fine. There were some, like follow-up questions, which is unheard of in these type of interviews. Not the kicking interviews, but any form of like interview with somebody. It appears that you can't just, off the cuff, ask another question to follow up on what they just said. We look back at like the 7 Hercs with Nelson Rodriguez and or Nelson Rodriguez interview. Like, why didn't you follow up on that? Why didn't you say this? Why didn't you say that?
Yeah.
At least here, there's a couple times like, well, like there's a time where like later on, we won't even go with this one, but yes, hey, what's one advice you'd give to the current group of kids? And Tab basically says, go out there and be a role model for the next generation. And Kate basically says, well, why is that their responsibility? Or why do you think that is their responsibility? And he responds and answers, but at least, she's pushing back and saying, well, maybe they are just players. They just want to go out there and play. Why is it their responsibility to be a role model, basically? So
yeah,
it is nice to have that back and forth. This is about Greg's second stint.
Getting stale. Does that therefore mean we should have made a change at that point?
No, I think it's no secret. I think a lot of us said that, and I said it.
Bullshit. I was leading the one cycle club, and I've only had a handful of people, public figures, in it. I don't think a lot of us said it, unless you said it behind closed doors. Say it out in the public.
If he said it in public, I didn't hear it. And the people that were saying it were Tact, Pete, us, Adam, maybe a handful of others. It was all independent.
We had Jimmy on our side. He was part of the one.
Jimmy.
We had Lawless at one point.
Then he fucking failed. But yeah,
I imagine Herc and Seb were on board. I don't recall though. But
by the way, I gotta pee again. I'll be right back. I'm old, Brett. I'm old. I can't do 3-hour shows anymore. I'll be right back. You finish the song.
Yeah. So, it's just it boggles my mind. I mean, where were all these people publicly saying? Because if everybody publicly said it, we wouldn't have gone through the whole 6 month. The 6 month was the investigation / looking for the new coach. We wouldn't have gone through that. We would have not have wasted all this time. But
at the time too, that it was time for a change. Now, after they decide they go into this search for 6 months and they find Greg again.
He did gloss over. Part of that 6 months was GeoGate. So I think that was like the first 3 months or so. And then the next 3 months were the actual legit coaching search. But neither here nor there.
Then now at that point we support him. So I'm working on the networks, and I'm like, okay, well, this is our coach now. So now we got to be behind. We got to support, and hopefully.
he basically finishes up the point by simply saying, "Hey, this is our coach now. We got to support him." But we all know how that turned out. And quite frankly, I mean, Derek and I said the same thing too. When Berhalter got rehired, we're like, "Well, he's back. Let's give him a chance and see what he's learned from his betters, his previous assistant managers." Let's move on to another topic here where he talks about I think he's talking about an American possibly be in the mix for the coaching. So
oh my God, good Lord.
Yeah.
All right,
so Derek, this next segment actually tells us how long ago this interview was done, because they're kind of talking about the coaching search right here. 2720.
An American name that should be in the mix?
At the moment, we need somebody from outside who's not committed to any of the politics or any of the people around. We're going to come in and go, "Oh, you don't play? You're not coming in. You're playing, you're coming in. I don't care if you play in China, you're coming in because I think you can do the job. You do the job. But if you're sitting on the bench somewhere and I don't feel like you should play, I'm not committed to anyone."
Right.
And
So again, this is obviously before Poach got signed up and everything. And she had asked if there's an American in the mix. And the first thing he says, "No, we need somebody outside the politics."
Yep.
I thought that was a brilliant statement to make, because that's something that we're all saying is we don't want another USSF yes man. We want somebody that's going to push us to be better.
And we don't play the Klinsmann part later, but he gets into, like, Klinsmann got in there and stirred shit up, and it was necessary at the time. And maybe Klinsmann's not the best coach in the world, but at least he stirred shit up, and that's what we need. We need somebody to stir some shit up and get us to think differently, especially get us think differently from the Berhalter era, which was really like the most flaccid era. I mean, a lot of like, this is part of the fucking process. Fuck your process. Fuck you. And at least Tab said this. This is not a project. This is not a project. This is not a club team where you're like, all right, we got a 3-year view. No, this is like, we're going to put the fucking best players we have together now, and we're going to do the best we can. We're going to set up and play the best we can with what we have now, and we only have a few practices and a few windows to do it. That's not a fucking project, motherfuckers. That is something you focus on immediately. That is something you do immediately. You establish the idea, like, we don't have much time. What we're going to do is we're going to put together this team. We're going to fucking find out the best way we can work together. We're going to put the best players in the best positions. Regardless of my dogma, I'm going to try to figure out the best way you guys can play together. And that's what we're going to do. No dogma. No dogma. No fucking goddamn fucking ridiculous ass system. We're going to figure out the best way we can succeed together on a fucking limited fucking time basis. This whole bullshit about 6-year projects, Tab's absolutely right about that.
It's a stepping stone to 2026, Derek.
Oh my God, it's so ridiculous. Every game, I'm so glad Poach said this, is important. Every fucking game. I don't care if it's against Fiji. That's an important game. We should win that 7-0. All right. That's how we got to be thinking. Every game's important. So I will give Tab credit for lots of parts of this interview doing a good job. That one part about 2022. I don't know what the fuck he's smoking, what he's doing, what the fuck he's thinking, what other players he thinks we should have brought in that were older than.
On my notes, I have literally written down best players.
I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. So I hope he'll still come on our show and we'll work on that. But I have offended him obviously tonight by saying that.
I'm sure he's got thick enough skin. He can handle it.
He can handle it. It's just so fucking ridiculous. I mean, maybe he can explain it to me when he comes on. But it's just, to me, But he makes lots of good points too, is my other point. So
He does talk about how within those politics of U.S. soccer, because we talked about how we need to get somebody that's not an American because it's aside from all. He does talk about how even though Klinsmann did come in and he mixed some things up and shook some things around, he still hit the wall with dealing with those politics, and he did have conflicts.
Yep.
So I mean, he talked about. I mean, he was the one who brought the quote unquote MLS quota to light. He talked about it. Now, of course, whether or not that's 100% accurate, like you had to have X amount of players from each one player from each team representative for the most part. I mean, I'm going to take it for his word at that point. But if you go back and look through his rosters, it's not necessarily true. But it does. Yeah. He did talk about how he couldn't get everybody he wanted to because there was expectations. And what's interesting though is because when Poach came in and he talked with the MLS owners or front office people and everything like that, they were at his announcement. That was one thing they talked about. I think not you have to include X, Y, and Z, but I think that's kind of the same mentality that they're like, we want to make sure our players are thought about as well here.
BMR says, laughing my ass out. Good luck with that, Derek. I mean, listen.
I'll tag him tomorrow.
Listen.
I'll clip your rant and I'll tag him and say, hey, come join us Monday.
We have had people I have offended multiple times on this show. Whether it be Lawless or Winalda or name them. The list goes on.
It's a generational thing, man. These people will hear Derek going off and they'll laugh, shrug it off, whatever, and we'll be like, "Hey, man, we love to have you come on." It is what it is. I mean,
I've never offended Max or to their degree. Like my commentary of Max, he gets it. We're friends, so we've known each other for long enough that he doesn't take it personally. Lawless, I think the same thing. Winalda, some patching up there needed to be done, was done, back on the show, all good. So I think it's possible for us to easily have, Tab on the show. I just really was frustrated by that one part of the interview. It's just one part. I think he was really good for most of it. But that one part for me was like, who the fuck else you bring in on this team, dude? Yeah. Who are you talking about even? I don't even know who you're talking about. Yes, and we know that Tact and Pete know Tab, and they would vouch for us, and we know other people who know Tab too, by the way. So we wouldn't need Tact
literally just mentioned a couple of them who we offended.
But we also know a lot of players from that era. We've had them on our show. So, I mean, we could easily get Tab on the show through them as well that have been on our show on Big Soccer. So, not that we're going to have them on. We're not really trying to right now. But if we did, I would certainly play that part of the interview and say, what were you talking about?
Bro. Yeah.
Bro.
So let's hit up the last minute of the show that I wanted to bring up.
3150.
That we're gonna get to that. That's part of it. Yes, I got 30-46 right now. Which is the compared position by position comment.
Okay.
It was like such a strong roster. You go player by player. I'd like to compare teams position by position to say, okay, who's better, right? And I think it's tough to beat that 2014 team. I mean, when you put Jermaine Jones and
kind of stroking his own ego there since he was an assistant, but
I get it, but Jermaine Jones is my favorite player.
Sure,
and
legit.
I'm going to agree with everything he says here.
Michael Bradley in the center of the field. I mean, can we say that is McKinney already better than Jermaine Jones? Is Tyler Adams already better than Michael Bradley? I
almost feel like they have those two players mixed up.
I do too,
style wise, but yeah. But regardless, his point stands.
I don't think that anybody we have right now is better than Jermaine Jones in the midfield.
Sure.
I think Jermaine Jones was.
Oh, I love his grit in this current squad.
Grit can hit you on a dime with a 40-yard pass. I just don't think we got anything like that right now in the midfield. I like to think we do.
Weston can hit those 40-yard passes on a dime, but
not regularly, and not more.
No, that all depends on his form, man.
I would like to see it more. and I haven't. Reyna can't be compared to Jermaine Jones. They're totally two different midfielders, but Jermaine Jones was good. He was really good. And people, I agree with him, don't realize how good that guy was. And not only that, in the locker room, like if you have talked to former U.S. men's national team players, they'll tell you that guy would get on your fucking ball sack if you're playing like shit or you weren't doing the right things. Like, he would hold not only the players accountable, but the most awesome thing was Jermaine Jones going to Jurgen Klinsmann during that qualifier, World Cup qualifier versus Mexico, where we started out in a 3-5-2, and going to Klinsmann after we were already down by a goal, and I think maybe 2 even, and just going, this isn't working. You realize this shit ain't working. We need to switch this shit up fast. We need to fix the formation. This is broken. And I mean, there were only a couple of players, Bradley, Dempsey, Jermaine Jones mostly, who could go to Klinsmann on the sideline and say, this shit's foobar. You got to fix this right now. And he would go, okay. And he did. He did. He fixed it in like 5 minutes. After that, he switched the formation. We didn't win the game. But it looked better after that because we were getting our asses reamed in that qualifier. So Jermaine Jones is just like one of those standout guys. My favorite player, U.S. men's national team player ever. So I'm a little.
Wants to know if Bradley could start for Juve. A prime Bradley playing for today's Juve? Yes, I would say yes.
I would say probably. We forget about Bradley's play in Serie A before he went to Roma. We
His
really
time at
did.
Gava was solid, man. He was one of the best players on the team.
They used to call him General Bradley. He
Yeah.
single-handedly made that team relevant in the Serie A, and that's why he got signed by Roma. Now, I get it. He didn't play much. Not as much as we hope for Roma, but he was at his prime. He was at his prime then, no doubt.
Yes, if Bradley was the best player for Roma, no. Although I will say he was going up. His spot was against Diego Rossi. So
Yeah,
that was a tough cracker to crack, man.
Yeah, he was
not to crack, I guess, but
he was a backup player. He got a lot of minutes off the bench, cup games.
I thought his time at Roma was fine. It's just he was going up against the stacked midfield, and it was going to be tough to crack.
But he earned that because of who he was at Chievo. Like, people don't remember how fucking genuinely amazing Bradley was at Chievo. Chievo was shit before Bradley got there. Like, okay, not shit. But they were not a good team. But they were a solid enough team while he was there.
They were mid-table when he was there, I think. Like
Right.
maybe lower mid-table, but still mid-table.
But still, good enough with that team that other teams like Roma started going, wow, that's a good kid. That's a great player. That's why Roma went after Michael Bradley. Now, we all remember the Michael Bradley when he went to MLS, had a couple good seasons, and then fell off the fucking cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when he was in Italy with Chievo, and he was the general at Chievo and basically helped that team survive Serie A. There's no other player that you could actually give credit on that team for helping them to. Oh, all right, that's probably not fair, but he was the central brain of that team. He was everything for that team, for Chievo.
So,
when he played there.
Yeah. Fumar does go on to say, if those guys were that good, we wouldn't have lost to Trinidad and Tobago. Our current squad lost to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're not comparing. Our comparison of Bradley in his prime is not a bash on Weston. You know, that's not the point. of what we're saying here. And I'm more than happy to have Weston on the team, and after the Bradley era, quite frankly, I'm a big fan of Weston. So,
and can we just keep in mind that the 2 goals that were scored by Trinidad and Tobago in that game were mathematically nuts. First, you had the own goal off of Gonzalez, clipped off his foot and perfectly off of his foot floated over Howard into the left side of the goal. Okay, that's one miracle goal. That's a miracle goal. Nice to have if you're Trinidad and Tobago. Second goal, that guy shot that from 40 yards out. 40 fucking, he could, this is a player who could barely hit the broadside of the barn, usually. He hits the most perfect fucking shot from 40 yards out you've ever seen.
Wasn't Howard off his line quite a bit?
Doesn't matter.
I'm saying it didn't help. It didn't help the shot, I know, but
I think Howard was in a generally respectable place at the time for a guy who had to borrow 40 yards out. And that guy cranked one for 40 yards out. He couldn't do that again if he gave him a fucking 100 shots. But he did that night. That's not an excuse. We should have still beat that team 5-2.
No, the excuse comes from even though we lost to them 2-1, we should have still went to the World Cup, except for the fucking perfect storm of fuckery.
Yeah, well, then there was all kinds of other fuckery that went on that night, right?
Yeah.
With the other games. So it was a horrible night to be a U.S. men's national team fan. That's all I'll say. I mean, I'll end it with that. So I think we're done, Brett. I can't go on.
This is the last bit anyways. It's just, he talks about the here, I'll even skip to that segment.
My voice is about to go out. Like I'm losing my fucking voice.
It's some of it. But I think that 2014 was incredibly talented. I mean, I think sometimes people don't give Jermaine Jones the credit he deserves. Jermaine Jones was, he was a warrior.
I'm going to pause actually because you brought a lot of the points he's going to make right up earlier. And I had written down that this is a comparison between 2014 and 2022 mentality, which was Kate's question. And he goes, well, that was part of it. And then jumps right into the talent as well, which we've already covered. So.
His word is warrior.
Yeah.
He's a fucking warrior. Who are the warriors on our team outside of Tyler Adams? We had multiple warriors. We had Dempsey. We had Jermaine Jones. We had Cameron. We had warriors back then. Absolute warriors. That's what we need more of. I'd say if you want to give mini warrior status to people, Adams, Ream, we need more warriors.
I wouldn't necessarily say Ream was a warrior in that sense of
no,
with everybody else. So
that's why I said mini warrior, not the kind of warrior.
Wee little bit.
Not the kind of warrior status I would give to Jermaine Jones and Dempsey. And fuck, even Bradley was a warrior on his own level. And fuck, even Donovan could be a warrior at times. We had some fucking warriors on that team. And even going back further than that. And we need that back. We need it back. Everybody knows it. Everybody that interviews and talks about this team, like Dapper Ramos and others, all say that's what needs to return. The warrior mindset, the battle mindset, the chip on the shoulder mindset, the belief that even though, as he did, Tab Ramos playing against Italy in 1990 in Italy, hey, yeah, we went into that game and we thought we had a chance. We just didn't know how little of a chance we had, but we came in thinking we're gonna fight, we're gonna battle. That's what we need.
Your voice is on life support right now, Derek. we didn't do the U.S. Open Cup final, so I'm just going to talk about it for just a few seconds. You can chime in with whatever you want to chime in with. The quest for a 5-peater is still up in the air. Chicago has a chance moving forward because Kansas City decided to lose 3-1 in the final. The best part, obviously, is like I said, Don Garber was at the game. He had to have been, but he was at the game, and he had to witness this trivial weak sauce of a tournament play out with 22,000 people watching.
Oh, it's such a trivial tournament.
Trivial, tiny, little tiny bits.
Who's gonna show up for a USOC final Open Cup?
Yeah, that nothing burger of a tournament.
So unimportant. No one would show up for that.
Cares, yeah.
Totally packed.
So
all right.
It's nice to see a great turnout for that. The game was fun. Chances were had, and LAFC took their chances and won.
Yep.
Not much to add to that.
They won pretty well, easily, actually. All right. We love you. Thank you. We'll do this every Thursday where we'll include you and give you an opportunity. So, yeah, if you have questions, make sure you formulate them. And so we can answer them during the show live with you. We'll do that. I'm not sure we're doing every Thursday, but we're certainly going to do it on Thursdays. It'll be fun to connect with you as real people. And we'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. My voice is just like totally died.
People are like, no, 3 hours. We're 9 minutes away. But Derek's voice, like I said, is on life support, guys.
No, dude, I'm dying here. Yeah, I'm dying.
I've got an e-learning day tomorrow, so I have no kids in the building. Yay.
E-learning. Good for you, Brett. I don't. But my voice is so fun. Like I've had this cold now for 3 weeks, and I thought I conquered it, and I had a great 3 days, and then it came right back.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm told. So until the next time on the Straight Red Card, we love you. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
That hurt.
And to me, it's nauseating. It's absolutely nauseating because
multiple mental health clinicians said that